Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. And I have a motion moved by John A. Bell and seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby returns to open session of Council at 7 p.m. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Mark, there was only one item that we went into closed session for, and a report that that was the only item discussed. There's no matters arising from closed session. Public meetings. We have none this evening. We have a number of delegations, but we have no public meetings. I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson and seconded by Doug Hutchinson. Be it resolved that items A1 to C1 inclusive contained in Part 1 consent agenda be adopted as printed, and further that authorization be given for actions to be taken as may be necessary to give effect to the recommendations contained therein. Is there any comments or questions on the consent motion? Got some over here. Mr. Warden, anything on that, on the consent agenda motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. I was going to say, all I got to do is sign this one. Okay, Mark. That's it for the consent. The upcoming future meetings are there. We're down to communications from Mayor and Council. Are there any council members have any communications since the last meeting? Start on this side with Councillor Hutchinson. Doug?
Yeah, last Friday was a sort of busy day around the Durham area anyways. In the morning, I went to a session at the arena where there were 365 attendees, a number of students, teachers, different service groups, all about We Care Share event it was called, and it had to do with mental health awareness and issues dealing with mental health. And it was an excellent conference. They were there a good part of the day. They had a number of guest speakers. They had a gentleman from 22-year-old from BC who came and talked, named Kevin Briel, who shared his history with depression and alcoholism in his family and being suicidal, and he gave a great presentation, and it was well appreciated. And then the students broke out into groups from there and had some discussion sessions. So that was in the morning, all day on Friday, and at the Durham Community Center, and that was well attended and excellent for our area. And as they said, it's important that people know that people do care for them and care about them, and there are avenues to get help. And nowadays, a lot of kids go through, not only kids but adults too, but people go through depression and not knowing where to turn and who to turn to. And basically, you know, the message is people care, show that you care, show an interest, hear their story, and get help if they need to get help. So that was an excellent conference that happened in our area. Then went on to a little presentation they had regarding the tulips in the area, and some of you might have noticed that we have a number of red and white tulips that the Horticulture Society planted in the fall, and they're up and showing themselves, and other than the weather isn't helping, but we do have a number of beautiful red and white tulips in the area that were given to us from as a result of the World War and the Dutch people appreciating the efforts that Canadians did for them. So there was the Horticulture Society played a lead role in that, and we have some beautiful gardens as a result. Something else that was supposed to take place on Saturday that didn't happen because of the weather, but the clean sweep that was supposed to happen on Saturday in West Grey is now was postponed till this Saturday, May 21st. So anyone wanted to get out and pick up garbage on your side road and whatnot, Joyce Noon was organizing that, and she's still taking volunteers if you want to volunteer, but she has a number of people that are doing that. And then there'll be a follow-up barbecue at the Ayton Fire Hall, I believe it is. So that's happening this Saturday instead of last Saturday. And one other event that's happening coming up in a couple weeks is the Impact Youth Summit, another thing that revolves around our youth, and it's going to be in Hanover. Again, they have a number of guest speakers, and one of them is a gentleman named Craig Kielberger, and if you maybe follow there, he's one of the founders of the Me to We program that has to do with helping unfortunate other people in other parts of the world that don't have what we have to live with, students in particular, and the students, they rally students across the board and all across Ontario and Canada that get together and raise funds and help promote healthy living, fresh water, all kinds of different activities. And so that's coming up on May 28th, and if you know anyone who wants to go, there's a registration, but it's an all-day event instead of 3 days. They've cut it down to 1, but it's an excellent program coming up, and we have some guest speakers, like I said, that will do a great job. And then the other thing that happened was the Rockwood rallies that were last week, and I'll let someone else speak to them.
Very good. Thank you, Doug. Carol.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Just first of all, report on the New State Craft Show, and it was very successful again. There was a number of products and crafts purchased, and the vendors were very pleased. Just I'm picking up on Doug's comment there, and I just would like to give a bit of a recap of Rockwood Terrace and where the actions are at. Bonnie Eden, that's a local gal, and good for her for taking the initiative and the effort to organize both the petitions that are being circulated and the rally. Julie Wilson and Bonnie Eden are working on the petitions. There's hundreds of signatures on them. They're out there yet. They will be presented to County Council on July the 5th, I believe it is, when I am speaking at County with regard to the history of Rockwood. And Bonnie organized the rally that took place at Rockwood Terrace. Weather wasn't really conducive to it, but Friday there were about 100 out, and I do see 3 people here that, no, 2 people. Dawn was there in all the rain on Saturday, weren't you, Dawn? And thanks so much. Bill Wilkinson there, and Kim was there Friday, and thank you very much for coming. There were about 100, and there's the residents were out, some staff were out, and quite a few people. It was kind of a come and go, so in total, they've about 100 people. People are concerned, I must say, and what I'm hearing is they'd like more information. They'd like to, there's rumors out there about big meetings and so on. We need, maybe as a council, because it is affecting West Grey and Durham very much, a little bit more, at this point, information. But to let you know what's happening, we have a core group who have been formed, and we have some very capable people on it. And they're strategizing as to how to approach this and what to do. They will be doing a peer review of the report that the council, or has the consultant at least, has given to the council, and the county council, let me make that clear. And they'll either confirm your figures or they will challenge them. And that's in the works. And as I said, we have some very capable people. It will grow, but we don't want to be too large to start, so people aren't kind of going every direction, so they're all working together, and then they'll be reaching out for more volunteers to help. It is on the way, and it was kind of, I wish all of the county councillors could have been there to talk to some of the residents and hear them on Saturday, because you're hearing from them, I don't want to go to Markdale, I'll go to Hanover first, and I'm not going to Markdale, I don't want to leave here. And you do need to hear that, and I hope at some point when we have another rally that the county councillors are there and can see it. And I do appreciate Kim, you and Lynn being there, and Robert, and Lynn was down again on Saturday. So, and just to let you know, it was terrible, terrible day on Saturday, as you all know, very wet. And the Durham girls, a portion of it, we had about half the members there, but enough to make a good sound, played outside. But then it was very nice that Lynn Johnson invited us in, and we did an impromptu concert. They went and got up and got the residents down, quite a few of them, and we played an impromptu concert. So it turned out well, even though it was so wet. Thanks.
Thanks, Carol. Any other council members? John?
Thank you,
Deputy Mayor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, great 2 days at Rockwood. Obviously, a lot of concerns, a lot of questions being asked. Something I did attend on your behalf, Mr. Mayor, was the Normanby Youth Awards put on by the Optimist Club in Normanby, and that was a great evening. They are looking for more youth to be nominated. They have more awards than they have youth. So they're looking for more youth to be nominated for some of those awards. And the only other item I have tonight, I will be bringing forward a direct motion at the appropriate time, and we'll see council and CAO's input into an item regarding Rockwood Terrace.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with anything? Have been fairly busy over the last, since the last council meeting, and I thank John and any other council members that have represented myself at different functions as I was at the OSM conference in Goderich. Very good conference, quite a facility that they have in Goderich, the recreation complex. And the facilities there, very well attended. Next year, it will even be in Grey County, the town of the Blue Mountains being the host, Blue Mountain Resorts being the site. So if you have the opportunity, putting it out to council members to go to OSM, small urban, very specific towards our area on what is happening, and a number of good breakout sessions there. I did have the opportunity, Minister Ted McMeekin, Municipal Affairs, was at the conference and spoke to us on Friday. I did ask him, he did take questions, and I asked if the ministry was going to be following through, and the other ministers, on their proposal to cut red tape and get Ontario going. The redundancy of some of our planning applications, some of our hoops that we have to jump through. So I did ask him if Conservation Authorities Act was going to be reviewed and brought into line. Niagara Escarpment for a number of property, a number of municipalities, certainly in Grey County, and Ministry of Environment on a number of permits, and that was specific to an incident in West Grey. Didn't quite get any answer as to a time frame or where it was, but hopefully he'll be taking it back to Queen's Park and getting us some answers there. Last week I was in Niagara at the Ontario Association of Police Services Board AGM, and I am very regretful that my duties as a provincial director did not allow me to be at the rally, but fully supportive of the support that the community has started to show, and that West Grey will be to put as much information in front of Grey County councillors on the decision to redevelop some of our long-term care beds. So we will look forward to that ongoing discussion as it comes forward. You may have noticed individuals coming in this evening and this afternoon that our fire trucks were at at one of the local funeral homes. A prominent businessman for a number of years in Durham had passed away, was a member of the Durham Fire Service for a number of years. His father, his grandfather, his son, so passed away on Friday. Visitation was today for Bev Neff,
and the funeral is tomorrow. And the West Grey Fire Station, Durham Station, was very prominent there, and that was having the truck there in Bev's honor. Chief Schwartz has done a very good job of that. One date that I would like to, Abbeyfield House in Durham has their annual barbecue, and I've invited anybody to come for their barbecue, to join them, to see the Abbeyfield location, and an opportunity to, if you would like to be a volunteer at Abbeyfield, if somebody can supply a bit of time, one of our retirement homes, I guess is the best way to put it. That is on Saturday, June the 11th, from 11 till 2. They'll have entertainment there as well, too. Always a good day. And they'll probably be selling tickets for their rubber ducky race. That seems to be the kickoff for the rubber ducky ticket race that on the Saugeen. And if council will indulge me, I had a letter from the retiring chair of the Durham BIA, Dave Eckert. I'm going to say I went to school with Dave, and he must have been busy at work, because I'm going to get some of this wrong. It's handwritten, so hopefully Dave out there will be able to trust me if I don't say everything in this letter that you've got. I want to just read it out, that it's from the West Grey Council Parks and Recreation Committee to them. Sometimes it takes a long time to get it right, but after more than 30 years of serving our community, I wanted to say thank you for the amazing flowers that have been placed on the bridges, the hanging baskets from the hydro poles and the planterscapes on Main Street, as well as the parking lot planters and in many of our parks. I've spoken often to our BI business community about the importance of saying thank you, often in a letter when one does well, and all too often we only dwell on the negative. Let me speak for all BI members in thanking, in particular, Steve Earhart and Trish Black for their hard work and their countless volunteer hours to making our community look amazing. When we have groups coming from other municipalities to ask who does your planting for us, it speaks volumes. You can spend all the money you want on printed material proclaiming what a great place Durham and area are. But most people process by seeing is believing. And believe me, it looked great for the last 3 years. Let's continue to get it right, working together for the betterment of West Grey. And that is from retired Chair Dave Eckert. So just want to be able to pass that along to Mark, if we can see that Steve and the Parks Committee, Bev, can have that. And I think we're certainly looking forward to that. And I think Bev has a copy. I've already given her a copy of that. So good news. And to the Parks Committee, big expectations for you again this year. But it will be well done. Any other comments, thoughts of things coming up, or past experiences? Carol, I don't know whether we had council since the Newstead? I can't remember. I'm just, the Newstead Craft Show. Did you report on that? Get lost there sometimes. Thank you. The craft show was very well, a good day, and well attended again. So great to the Newstead people for doing that, the Recreation Committee. We're down to delegations. That's it. Very thankful and appreciative of having the Warden of Grey County, Alan Barfoot. There's also the Mayor of Georgian Bluffs. Welcome this evening, Your Honor, and the CEO, Kim Wingrove, from Grey County. So if the floor is yours, I think you just want to give us a report. The podium is right behind you, and you'll notice the gray button will turn on the microphone there, Kim, if you want to give us an update. There it is.
We'll do it as a tandem if that's all right.
Well, if it's a tandem, but I've heard you sing, so I'm glad it's not a duet.
It's not a duet. All right. Thank
ahead.
you. Good evening, Mayor Eccles and Council. It's a pleasure to share a few minutes on your Council agenda this evening and talk a little bit about some of the current work happening at Grey County and to hear your feedback and answer any questions that you may have about the county's work. As you know, Grey County provides a broad array of services to every resident of the county. Just to give you a few examples, winter and summer maintenance, construction on the 877 kilometers of county roads, 1,000 culverts and almost 200 bridges accounts for 31 cents of every dollar we receive in assessment from the residents of Grey County. Very important as well, nearly half of the county's budget is devoted to providing services to the most vulnerable people in our communities. Social services, income supports, childcare programs, ambulance and paramedic services, 1,355 units of social housing are all examples of that support to the most vulnerable members of our society. Given recent discussions regarding long-term care services, you might be interested to know that of that 48 cents that's devoted to helping people, 12 cents of every dollar supports the county's 316 long-term care beds in the 3 homes that the county operates. Grey County also operates the Provincial Offences Court, which hears a wide variety of cases, including those related to the Highway Traffic Act and trespassing, enforcement of your municipal bylaws, a wide number of things. The county also operates the Grey Roots Museum, which offers programming to people of all ages and all the days of the year, celebrating the history of Grey County. Recently, the county's moved into a stronger role in economic development and tourism. We have staff that are actively involved in working with the tourism businesses in the county, supporting economic development and marketing and promoting all the really great things that Grey County has to offer. Economic development and our planning department are committed to ensuring that Grey County is seen by the public as open for business. This year, the county has several significant projects underway. We've begun a review of our strategic plan. This is something that was mandated at the time the original strategic plan was put forward, that we would undertake a review. To date, council's had some discussions and determined that there are 3 key goals they want to focus on. One is growing the Grey County economy. Secondly, supporting healthy and connected communities, and that covers off things like supporting Grey Bruce Health Services. There's a pilot project ongoing right now with regard to rural transportation and how we can help people in the rural communities get around the county a little more easily as if they don't have access to a private vehicle. As well, the third goal that we've focused on is delivering excellent governance and services, and the county at this time is really looking at how we communicate with the public. How are we getting the right kind of information out to folks in the right way that makes it accessible and useful to everyone? There's going to be a new county website coming out at the end of June. We're doing a communication strategic plan right now. As well as those projects, we're reviewing the county official plan this coming Thursday night. There'll be a public meeting to discuss the future of the county. What do we want to look like in 15 or 20 years? How do we want to use the land? Where do we want to see communities grow and businesses invest? We really are hoping that everyone will participate in these discussions, and we're working hard to identify lots of different kinds of opportunities for people to provide their input into it. We're also looking at the county's development charges and the projects that are growth related in the county. How should those best be paid for? And putting the finishing touches on a natural heritage study that the province asked us to do. Finally, leveraging provincial funding and looking to partner with the nonprofit sector to develop additional units of social housing around the county. So there's a tremendous amount of work going on all across the county. These are really busy and exciting times. we'd like to hear from you about the work that we're doing and how we can help you better achieve the goals that you have for yourself here in West Grey.
If I could just add a couple of things.
Sure. Yep.
Oops, sorry.
I'll go this way.
Well, Your Worship and members of council, you're the first for our CAO, Kim, and I to attend for council meetings, so this is a little bit of a new experience for me to do that. The last time I was in this chamber was when we had planning, where all planning members of Grey County Planning attended, so that was the last time I was down, and I do miss the new structure. I think it was a better way to do it when we did it previously, when the members all went out, but anyway, that's something we're working on through my strategy of improved customer service, so we'll see where that one goes. Just a couple of things maybe to add to what Kim had alluded to. Obviously, we're looking at an addition to the administration building at Grey County. That's something we're working through now for yous that have toured the facility. It is certainly outdated from a health and safety perspective. That's one of the reasons we're moving it forward, as well as moving the POA into the main council chambers, into where current council chambers are, but that needs to be addressed as well. Another issue is, as Kim has alluded to, is the long-term care issue. It's certainly sensitive everywhere in Grey County, and I can assure you that Grey County Council is taking in all the information right now. There has been no decisions made on anything. We're just evaluating all the information that we can towards it. And a third item that's taking up a lot of time with County Council is the motion that was passed to look into the issue with Town of Blue Mountains and the roads issue there. That's something that is going to be, a decision will be made very shortly on it. So I think between the two of us, we've relayed a lot of information on projects that we have on the go, but we would certainly entertain any questions from your council.
Well, thank you very much. Very informative, Kim, for giving not only this council, but the audience out there. We're one of a few municipalities that do live stream our council meetings, and I know that County Council is looking at that seriously, of having that live streamed and also putting in the necessary facilities if and when the administration expansion goes forward, of having that fully done. You have exposed yourself to questions, so I'm going to ask if there are any questions. Councillor Lawrence. Carol?
I'm sure you know what I want to talk about, or ask you. Rockwood Terrace. First of all, Mr. Warden, you have decreed that a decision has to be made in this year, which is by, your last meeting is in November, so we got 5 months. Is there some reason, or will you wait if there's incoming information that the county councillor should be reviewing? Will you rush to make that within the 5 months, or will you consider holding off that decision?
I guess, Councillor Lawrence, the directive would be that we would hope to make the decision by the end of the year. We're hoping to compile all the information now. We would just like to see a directive of where County Council wants to go. I think through the communication that was sent out, that's on the county website, and I'm sure you probably have it as a link from your website here. I know we have in Georgian Bluffs. It gives, we hope, the detailed information that our communications officer has put out, and the fact that the reason why there's so much lead time, if there's to be a new build, or wherever council takes the decision, when you start backing up the dates, that's why we need this length of time. So as I say, it's a goal, it's the hope that we'll have a decision by the end of 2016 as far as what path County Council will take.
My concern is your reports deal strictly with figures, strictly with money. There's nothing in there about the human factor or the economic impact, and surely the county is as interested in the economics of your municipalities, ours being the second largest, as you are in saving some dollars in your operations. So I do hope that you will look. I have a lot of concern with that report that you brought in, but we will talk about that one. The only thing I said, I would wonder how much background this consultant did, because the very first page lists Rockwood Terrace as a B home. We know it's a C. It's on the first page of your January 13th report. It also says that it was built in 1985. It was built in 83, 84. Opened, first residents came in the 3rd of October 84, and official opening was the 31st of October 84. So those are just on the first page. I'm a little concerned how much depth he went into, or if he just skimmed the top. And then when I look at who he was consulting with, and I see in both places senior Grey County staff and many more in 2 places, but I don't see anywhere where it talks about consulting with the Grey County councillors or the West Grey councillors, and the Markdale or Grey Highlands councillors. It's going to affect whatever you do, both of us. Don't see any of that kind of consultation in there either.
Okay.
So as I said, I do have a concern that is really missing a lot of, you're just looking at dollars, and there's an awful lot more to it than that. And I would wonder, I don't suppose anybody has ever complained to you about how much the county is paying for care for these seniors in our homes. These are the people that are in there now and who've been there and passed on, who paid the taxes, who built those buildings. So I hope you keep that in mind, not just saving some money. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Lawrence. And a couple of things. First of all, the consultants were given a very defined mandate. They were asked to provide some specific information, but we recognize fully that that they were not tasked, nor did they deliver a complete picture on everything that council might want to consider in making a decision such as this. So, to echo the warden's comments, it is very much early days. There was a further presentation made by Director Lynn Johnson that looked at, where residents were coming from, where the staff were being drawn from. So there are companion documents that do have some additional information. We intend to continue to expand the scope of our analysis till we get to a place where people really do feel comfortable that we're telling a complete story. And it's at that point we'll be in a place to, have further direction from council and for them to make a decision.
Any other questions, comments at this time? Bev, Councillor Cutting?
Yes, hello. You mentioned in your opening remarks that economic development was extremely important to the county, and it was going to be a large factor in your strategic plan meetings. And yet, economic development is very much, I believe in this area, one of your largest areas, to do with our natural environment. And yet, when we were going through the wind turbine fight, myself, who was very much involved, felt that the county was completely working against this council's mandate to not have wind turbines. We were declared ourselves willing hosts, and yet the county, every time we turned around, it seemed that the county was slapping the wind turbine company on the back and going, yeah, okay, you're great, come on. And yet we were fighting against them, and I did not feel, shouldn't talk for council, I did not feel that the county was backing up what this municipality wanted. And if you're going to go through with economic development, we still have a number of wind turbine companies looking at areas, proposed in Grey Highlands. What is Grey County going to do to back the municipal governments when they make choices to be unwilling hosts and stick to that? Are you going to back that and stay with that line of thought?
Well, with all due respect, Councillor Cutting, Grey County's position has been the same as West Grey's. We have not been supportive of wind turbines. I'm not sure where that, I'm a little appalled that you were taking that opinion, because I know With my counterparts, and two of them at the table, I mean, we've all been opposed to the creation and the operation of wind turbines within Grey County. Unfortunately, we have to work within the planning rules and through transportation. And Deputy Mayor Bell, as chair of county transportation, we've tried to make sure that within the legal limits that we've imposed upon the wind turbine companies, the securities that our ratepayers through either the lower tier or upper tier won't have to have any additional costs, that the wind turbine companies will be absorbing all those costs.
Maybe to clarify, it wasn't so much county council decisions, it was staff that were working with the wind turbine people that we felt were completely working against what this particular council and even county council direction was for. So it was more staff.
Okay, well, as I say, in fairness, they were working for our best interests and getting the necessary securities for those. And I'm assuming you're referring mostly to planning and transportation, which would be the two compartments probably within Grey with that. But as I say, we definitely have not been supportive of moving those forward. We just want to make sure that everyone's, from a financial aspect, is adequately covered.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Bell? John?
As the warden did say, we do have a resolution that says that Grey County is an unwilling host. We do have. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And certainly moving forward, there have been some staffing changes, so yeah, I don't think that had any direction or things on that, but take that back, and being on county council, we will review that for you, Councillor Cutting, as a county councillor. Any other questions? Comments? Well, on behalf of council, thank you very much, Mr. Warden. Thank you. Madam CEO, Ms. CEO, I'm always trying to figure that one out. Alan and Kim, thank you very much for coming and giving us an update, giving council here an update. It's always nice to hear from the warden and the CEO. I know that Grey County Councillor Bell does his best to keep council here updated, and I try my best as well too. But the face of the warden and the CEO carries a lot as well too, and continue the good working relationship between West Grey and the county going forward. Look forward to the exciting times that are going to happen. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Yeah. Okay, as I
Well,
said,
maybe, Your Worship, we may stay for a part of the meeting, but if we exit, it's not because we don't want to stay for the entire meeting, but I'm sure you'll want to do portions of it without us being here.
oh, you're nothing. You may be able to learn something from staying in West Grey. Our next delegation is Jeff Ibbotson. I did get that. Close. Is that close enough? I think I got the Jeff part right. Yes, very good. Jeff wants to talk about an entrance issue in the former township of Bentig. And Jeff, if I could, because we're Adam's recording and whatnot, could you use the podium for your presentation? Thank you.
Did you receive copies of the pictures I submitted? Yes?
Yes, and they're here with us as
Okay.
far as the descriptions and whatnot go. Yeah, thank you very much, Jeff. So the floor is yours.
Good evening, councillors. I'm presenting this information in an effort to explain that I am continuing the use of the former Chartersmith Farm, located on part lot 5758 of Blue Spring Road, concession 2. The existing laneway that now enters from Blue Spring Road was used for residential farm access since the early 1900s. Photographic evidence of this is provided in the 1954 aerial photograph on page 4. Unfortunately, the house was demolished just prior to the earliest photographs available on Grey County GIS. Our intentions is to construct a house and barn in the same location as the former Charter Smith home. Neighbors and photographs indicate it's virtually on the same footprint. The issue, I am told, with granting permission to use BlueSpring Road to access the existing laneway is that BlueSpring Road is not maintained. I am more than happy to sign a waiver of liability and maintain access to our laneway, similar to agreements that both residents of BlueSpring Road have signed. The township is benefiting greatly by our efforts to rebuild on the former Charter Smith farm with increased taxes, development fee, building permits, entrance permits, and the spin-off economic growth of the local purchase of building materials. And additionally, the land will be productive and not allowed to sit fallow as it has in the past. The township has suggested that the entrance be placed east of the mailboxes located in the photograph, allowing access to the farm from the maintained road. I have met with Cedarwell Excavating, and an estimated cost of $40,000 was given to construct a laneway to connect the existing laneway to the preferred location by the township. For all the benefits to the township, I cannot understand the reasoning that I should have this additional expense when the existing laneway has been in residential use for over 100 years. Proof of the former Charter Smith residence is acknowledged in the 1880s map of County of Grey taken from the Illustrated Atlas of the Dominion of Canada, which is also provided. And the existing laneway and former house is also significant enough to be recognized on the Ontario Base Map Index. Additionally, maintained access to the existing laneway was provided off of concession to SDR prior to the reconstruction of the curve and the bridge by the township and the creation of BlueSpring Road, which in turn removed access off of concession to SDR. To date, all permits and fees and proof of insurance have been provided and paid in full, and I am wishing to proceed with construction ASAP. Cedarwell Excavating is able to and waiting for the entrance permit to upgrade the existing entrance to residential standards. In closing, I would like to thank you for your time and say that I look forward to building.
Thank you very much, Jeff, for the update on where you're at as far as looking at construction. As I think you're very well aware, it's trying to limit our risk and follow continuous for staff to follow the policy on fully maintained roads for building permits and entrance access. Now, with saying that, are there places for exceptions? Are things all uniform throughout the township and throughout the former township of Bentinck and throughout the municipality of West Grey? No. I would put this asking that our new Public Works Director and Infrastructure, Brent, if there's a chance that we can get a staff report together and come up with what are options the council may consider to deviate from what the policy is, because it will be a council position. And I hope council would agree with me that we have committee of the whole on the 30th would be a time for us to be able to develop some options and take a look at how we can work with yourself and coming up to an agreeable consensual solution to this. Is that?
That's all I can ask for.
I'm seeing nods here, so I think that, as I can say, we're not going to be able to give you a blank check to put it any other way tonight, but that would be the best that I think council can come with to be able to come forward with a solution or options for you. And I'm going to ask maybe exchange with Brent some contact information, and we can work back and forth with that. Sound good?
Fair enough.
Excellent. No, thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you.
Look forward to coming to some solutions. Oh.
We're okay, pay for it.
Yeah. I'm going to have that. Very good. I think that puts us just about back on time. Thank you. Our next delegation is Mrs. Robinson, and wants to have some further discussion on Rockwood Terrace. Good evening. Certainly, the mayor would have...
Oh, okay. Okay,
Working now?
terrific. And if at any
Robinson?
time that the microphone goes off, would somebody let me know, please? Because I just want to make sure that it's being transmitted both audio and through the mic. Okay, good evening, West Grey Council, Warden Barfoot, ladies and gentlemen. For the record, my name is Christine Robinson, and I am a resident of West Grey. The purpose of my delegation is to clearly state to West Grey Council that Rockwood Terrace must remain in Durham, that the 100 beds must remain in this long-term care facility, and that the care, control, ownership, including licensing, to operate remain as a Grey County facility. I have a call to action for West Grey Council, and that is for West Grey Council to pass a specific resolution. Number one, and there are 3 parts. Number one, that West Grey Council supports the commitment of both funding and operation of Rockwood Terrace as part of the Grey County owned and operated long-term care facility in Durham. That Grey County Council take full advantage of provincial redevelopment funding and county funding, capital and reserve, to enhance Rockwood Terrace. And 3, that this resolution of council be circulated to all Grey County municipalities and Grey County Council for their endorsement and support of this resolution. This is my call to action for West Grey Council. This is an issue of vital concern to our community. The situation deals with our most vulnerable, our cherished loved ones. Long-term care is about dependent living. In other words, it's not only a financial decision here. This involves people, family members, healthcare providers, and government support. There is and will continue to be an increased need for long-term care homes such as Rockwood Terrace. Rockwood Terrace provides services and direct support for our residents that have lived and contributed to this community their entire lives, including paying taxes to support this facility. Rockwood Terrace is a vital part of the fabric of West Grey. Rockwood Terrace is a longtime community icon and has benefited many people for many years. Moving people to an unfamiliar surrounding can and will create fear and stress. Living in a rural area, transportation is always a challenge and will be a problem for those individuals that would need to travel a further distance to visit their loved ones in a long-term care facility, and often these loved ones are visited 2 and 3 times a day.
Many social and economic factors will be negatively impacted for the residents and families and the community overall. There will be a potential job loss for many individuals, many employees, that is. Economic development will decline, and local businesses will be impacted negatively with the reduction of spending in our community. My concern is that our hospital may be subject to an issue if Rockwood Terrace leaves. And that is, my concern is that it might impact on our hospital viability in Durham. Warden Barfoot has been quoted as saying, and I quote, "The fate of Rockwood Terrace will be one of the biggest decisions Grey County Council will make this term." It's probably one of the biggest decisions that any Grey County Council has made over the last number of years. It's huge. This decision needs to be made this year. I'm concerned regarding the fate and urgency of this decision. I have called and left messages or spoken with all of Grey County Council members. I've conveyed my support for Rockwood Terrace, and it is my opinion that my comments and suggestions were well received, and it is my expectation that my comments and suggestions will be factored within their decision-making. Grey County councillors are all stating it is early in the process. I reject that messaging. It is never too early to get into the process, and that is precisely why I am here. This issue has been a long-standing one for many years, yet there appears to be an urgency to make a decision by the end of the year. It is apparent that Rockwood Terrace has had a lack of attention, being neglected, now requiring some $10+ million in retrofitting to meet future needs. This issue is at a critical stage before us because of the lack of decision-making over the years. Mr. Eccles was warden in 2015 when the Sienna report was commissioned. Mr. Bell sits on social services. Neither one of them brought the issue to our community. It concerns me that these West Grey representatives who were party to the neglect and poor decision-making will be making the ultimate decision regarding the fate of Rockwood Terrace, along with the other members of Grey County Council. That is why my call to action is so important. Now, while we are hearing, don't be afraid, and you won't be on the street corner, Grey County Council at its May 3rd meeting approved the deferral of a number of capital projects for Rockwood Terrace. And I quote, "It was noted that a number of capital items at Rockwood Terrace have been deferred. Significant investment in necessary repairs and maintenance will be required soon. A decision regarding the future of the facility will be useful in managing these expenses appropriately." The consultant's report was completed in 2012 by Snyder and Associates. So here's a good quote, and I quote, "The recommended option is to refurbish and slightly expand the existing facility at an estimated cost of $10.5 million by increasing the bed count by 12, providing more well-designed private and semi-private rooms, and organizing space efficiently. An expanded facility will be more efficient to operate, maximizing revenue streams and constraining operating and capital expenditures. The cost of additional staff would be offset significantly by the enhanced revenues." Again, the Sienna report, commissioned in 2015, just recently completed and released, is a financially focused report that doesn't discuss the human aspects relating to Rockwood Terrace. But where is that social human impact report that should have been commissioned alongside of the financial report in 2015? My question is, Where have you been? Several upgrades will be needed to Rockwood Terrace to ensure a safe, comfortable environment for residents and staff. Rockwood Terrace should have received the upgrades and enhancements throughout the years, which has now resulted in a critical situation that could have been mitigated. It is expected by the citizens of West Grey, it is expected by the citizens that Grey County Council would have ensured that any and all funding and actions needed would have been taken. So I go back in 2011 in preparation for the 2012-2015 Corporate Strategic Plan. Consultation with a number of stakeholders were asked whether the county should spend more, less, or the same on various county services. The respondents indicated with a 63% affirmative response to more spending being allocated to long-term care. Now, in February 2015, Grey County Council was advised that, and I quote, based on a preliminary review of a potential ministry redevelopment funding and the funding available when the Lee Manor debentures were paid off, the development of Rockwood Terrace could commence as early as 2016 with potentially no budgetary impact. And the second part of that is, and that staff be directed to complete and submit a redevelopment survey, it's provincial funding, indicating an immediate interest in pursuing redevelopment for Rockwood Terrace. And yet, here we are today. I submit to you that funding is available to enable Rockwood Terrace to be a viable long-term care facility which can continue to serve local and area residents. The investment is worthwhile. I've provided you with a call to action. Rockwood Terrace is a home for our loved ones, and it is an important community partner. We can all be proud of Rockwood Terrace. So now I wish to thank West Grey Council for listening and implore West Grey Council to do everything within its power to keep Rockwood Terrace. So I'll entertain any questions at this point.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I don't know whether there needs to be any questions asked on that or comment. Councillor Lawrence. Carol?
Thank you. Christine, I just want to say your call to action is coming after the fact because the mayor and I, if you read the minutes of May the 2nd, the mayor and I are tasked to meet to discuss the suggested course of action for council. We have been meeting. We are developing a resolution to bring to council and a letter, and we wanted to hear what Warden Barfoot had to say tonight. But that was decided last May 2nd. And a lot of everything you've said here tonight has been mentioned and discussed by our core group, and that is all being worked on. I'm sorry that you couldn't get to the rally. That was very important to show the support. Mm-hmm. Hopefully you'll get to another one. Mm-hmm. Have you walked through Rockwood?
Absolutely. And it's not the first time, but I want to go back a bit. I am pleased that your core group is organizing and saying very much the same thing that I'm saying today with variation. I think that's fantastic because now as citizens, we are messaging back to the county and to the two members of Grey County Council that sit here. So I'm here as a concerned citizen. This is my delegation. This is my expression to West Grey Council. It's not whether my delegation speech that I spent a lot of time working on is only unique and that nobody else can come up with the same issues. That should not be your point at all, Carol.
Not my point.
My point is that Rockwood Terrace is very important. It needs to stay in West Grey. The 100 beds need to stay here. It needs to stay as a facility of Grey County. That's the point. My call to action, that's fantastic that council is working ahead to do some work, and you get to the finish line before me on a call to, or a resolution, my call to action is still as effective because I'm a citizen and I'm communicating it to this West Grey Council.
Well, thank you very
and
much.
lastly, to be fully comprehensive, I have visited Rockwood Terrace as early as last week, I believe, and that's not the only time I've been there. And, okay. And that's very true that, you know, I've been through Rockwood a lot. And I do know that there was a meeting by invitation only for some people to meet, and that's fine. I think it's the gathering of as many people as possible for as many different concerns to bring forward. The common denominator is Rockwood Terrace.
That's right, and I just want to clarify that the core group is not council, and it's not organized by council, it's a citizens group. And
Great.
there's no one knows better than I how important Rockwood Terrace is, because I was the building chair for it. So you're preaching to the converted here.
Oh, absolutely. No, the common denominator is Rockwood Terrace, and that the interest is retaining Rockwood Terrace here as a county-run facility. And that is what it's about.
And that's what we're all working toward.
Yeah. Good questions.
Very good. Thank you very much, Christine. Just one point of order. You did mention in your report or your statement that all county councillors were contacted. I can emphatically state that 2 county councillors weren't contacted, but it might have been an oversight on your part. But
Oh, not at all.
Probably 16 out of 18 were contacted.
No, I have 72% response rate, and that
I didn't say
becomes
anything
70
about the response rate.
No,
I
but...
said that you
yeah.
did not call 2 out of the 18.
Or spoken with, and I'm speaking with you now. So you're actually getting a face-to-face dialogue with me. So that's really
fine.
what it is. It's called, left messages, or spoken with. I'm speaking with you now. So that's what I'm addressing. So I've got my little notes on who I called. But why are you a little adversarial on a citizen delegation, Mr. Eccles?
It's Mayor Eccles, and I don't think that there's any adversary. I just wanted to keep the facts straight, because it's going to be needing facts that are going to be able to convince, and it's what I have given, and it's what the Deputy Mayor has given to this council and to the citizens, that we will do everything we can to factually put that information in front of County Council to make sure that they make the right decision to keep the long-term care beds and facility here in West Grey.
Yes, factual information is exactly what's important, and keeping Rockwood Terrace in Durham as a county-run facility with the 100 beds in Rockwood Terrace is exactly my point.
Very good. Well, I thank you very much for the delegation.
You're quite welcome.
I don't see any other...
Any other
comments.
questions?
No other questions at this time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pretty much on time. Mark, can you check, or Carrie, do we have Kevin and Barry are here? Now, there seems to be a few people that are, couple coming in, couple going out. Thank you. Bob's on a roll. Just for the microphone, just wondered if you could take your spot there and maybe use the podium to make your presentation. On a yearly basis, the Municipality of West Grey is honored to have BDO. Canada has done the audit here for the municipality for a number of years, and been very good working relationship. And we have this evening, partner Barry Heaney and the project manager Kevin Tremble to represent BDO on presenting the West Grey financial statements. And I don't know whether the camera can see, but Mr. Trimble's carrying about enough papers that equals his own personal weight, so I'm glad that you've been into training to carry that, Kevin. The financial statements for the municipality have been prepared, and they are not exhaustive, but they're extensive. So I thank you, Kevin and Barry, for that and coming this evening. So I'm going to turn it over to you, and if you want to use the podium, the gray button there on the podium, I guess Kevin's going to hand out some of the statements. We'll activate the microphone, and it'll turn red when you're ready to start, Barry.
Okay, thank you everyone, and thank you, Kevin. So I'm a new partner with BDO in Hanover office, and I'm the new engagement partner for the audit of the Municipality of West Grey. And we did send out a couple letters with our package to the councillors. I just wanted to go over briefly, there was a letter sent to council that's we call our audit letter. The importance of that is it outlines our audit strategy for the year. And another important matter to disclose is our independence, that BDO is independent of West Grey, which is important when you're auditing that municipality. Another important thing we point out is the materiality level that we audit the statements to. So I don't want to get into too much detail on that, but it's a letter that is addressed to council, and if they have any questions, we're certainly more than available to entertain any questions you might have on our audit strategy or audit findings. Next, I also want to point out, from Kevin's expressing appreciation with the staff. It's been a well-run audit, and we do have a good working relationship with the staff here and council as well. We did meet with some of the management team to go over the statements in more detail, and so we did have that meeting, and Kevin will go over some numbers here in a minute. And I just wanted to point out that on the financial statements, this pages 2 and 3 is the audit report. And the importance of that report is it outlines what we're auditing, all the different pieces that are part of this financial statements. It also points out that management of the municipality is responsible for these consolidated financial statements. The auditor's responsibility is to issue an opinion on the financial statements and the numbers in these financial statements. And if you go, and on page 3, our opinion is noted on there, and it is an unqualified opinion, which is a clean audit report. So it's good to point out that there's no issues with the numbers in these financial statements. So I'd like to turn it over to Kevin to get into the numbers a little bit and basically provide some of the highlights in the year and changes in the year.
Kevin, if you could, please. Thank you.
Thank you. As in the past, we kind of went through in significant detail the statements line by line, a detailed process. This year, we've sent this letter ahead of time that kind of outlines the highlights, and I think that's more what you guys would be interested in. We've gone through the statements in detail with Kevin, John, Larry, and Carrie, and they're happy with everything. So I just want to point out some highlights here. So if we go to page 4, the statement of financial position. This is your balance sheet. West Grey has financial assets of $8.4 million this year. That's up about $1.2 million from last year. Some of the larger fluctuations from year to year, I'll go over. Temporary investments have gone up $220,000, and that's due to the purchase of the One Funds this year, and it was a new investment that West Grey invested in. Tax collections, it continues to be an issue. It's risen again this year by about $215,000. That brings it to $3.3 million. And the majority of this increase does relate to older accounts that are in arrears. General receivables are up $370,000 from last year. The majority of this is related to the bridge that was assumed from the county, the Carrick Bridge reconstruction project. So they gave you the bridge, but you had to, West Grey had to fix it up, and they gave $500,000 to you for that, and you haven't received the money yet, but it does relate to the 2015 project. The final thing from the assets that I want to point out is loans receivable are up $425,000. This is the new mortgage loan that was entered into by West Grey to facilitate the sale of the former Rona building. Next on the balance sheet is liabilities. They've actually decreased $540,000 from last year. The first line there is accounts payable. They're down $600,000, and that's just timing of cash flows and payments and whatnot. In 2014, there was a large fire truck that was purchased right around year end, so that it was a little bit higher then. So there's nothing really to point out there. The next line, deferred revenue, has increased by about $180,000. And this is just, again, development charges for the year were significantly higher than the funds that were, or the development expenses that were incurred during the year, so the balance has gone up. Those monies have to be held in the deferred revenue until they're used on the specified projects. There's long-term debt has decreased by $148,000. That decrease is made up of regular loan payments of $260,000. And then there was a new loan entered into during the year for $113,000 for the road paving. After the changes in the assets and liabilities, West Grey is left with net financial assets of $3.9 million compared to $2.2 million last year, which has seen a positive increase of $1.7 million. The final section on the balance sheet is the non-financial assets. Non-financial assets primarily make up of your tangible capital assets, so West Grey's roads, buildings, water systems, sewer, etc. The tangible capital assets have actually decreased by $745,000 this year. And it's just changes. Amortization for the year is exceeded in additions by about $300,000, and plus the Rona building was sold for over $400,000 during the year. The last number on the statement of financial position is the accumulated surplus. It has increased by $1 million from last year, and it's $77.9 million, but $74 million of that is your tangible capital assets. On page 5 is your consolidated statement of operations or your income statement. Starting with revenues, total revenue for the year, $16.1 million. Last year, $14.8 million. So revenues include operating revenue plus any revenues received for funding of capital assets. So those total revenues can fluctuate year to year depending on what projects have gone on during the year. The main increase for revenue this year is actually taxation revenue. It's gone up $885,000. And that's right in line with what was budgeted, so there's no surprises there. And then your government transfers or your grants for the year, they've gone up by $330,000. $350,000 was actually a decrease in the OMPF funding, but that's offset by increased funding from the county. You receive $500,000 for the bridge project, as well as $260,000 for the county's capital reserves when they redistributed that to the lower tier. So down to expenses. Total expenses are $15.1 million, and it's only an increase of $130,000 from last year, so that's a pretty good year-over-year cost control. There's nothing really significant that jumps out there. I do want to point out that when you compare your current year expenses to your budget, you notice that they're significantly higher, and that's just because West Grey's council and their Their motto has not been to budget for amortization. Amortization is a non-cash expense, but it does get shown up in the expenses for the municipality. So there's some variations there. The total expenses were $2.7 million over budget, and amortization was $2.4 million. So realistically, they're only over budget by $300,000. Sorry, I said that wrong. They're under budget by $300,000. That sounds a lot better. And that's right. Okay. So to be under budget on $300,000 on $15 million of expenses, that's a pretty good job doing a budget. So that comes down to an annual surplus of $1 million. And then if we flip over to the next page, or actually to page 7, is the cash flow statement. So this is what happened to this $1 million. So it starts with the annual surplus of $1 million. After changes in all your working capital balances and your operations, you've generated $2 million. About halfway down the page there, you'll see $2.08 million. Of that $2.08 million, you use $1.7 million to finance capital asset purchases. And then you also used $150,000 to finance your debt or pay off your debt during the year. And that leads to a net increase in cash of $200,000 for the year. Okay, so that's it for the body of the statements. Pages 8 to 11 are your accounting policies. They haven't changed from last year other than one note. There's a new accounting standards section for contaminated sites, and that's just a new PSAB standard where we have to identify any contaminated sites that the municipality owns. We did a lot of discussion with various council members and staff and former employees and everything, and we determined that there are no significant contaminated sites within West Grey, but it is a new accounting standard and policy. On page 12, the notes start. I just want to touch on a couple of the notes. Note 3 at the bottom of page 12 here, that's where you see the details of the mortgage receivable that was entered into. So it shows the interest rate West Grey is receiving, the monthly payments, and the balance owing as of December 31st, 2015. On page 14, note 5, this is the details of West Grey's long-term debt. So you can see that there was one new loan for, it was a 0% loan for paving the new road. The balance owing at December 31st is $84,000. And down at the bottom of that page, you'll see that West Grey is scheduled to repay $230,000 of debt this coming year. The next note I want to touch on is note 10. These are your reserves. So this is the money council's set aside for future purposes, whether it's new capital purchases or whatnot, or it's just annual surplus that wasn't spent has been transferred to a capital reserve for a future year. You can see there's various changes there. You guys go over, or West Grey goes over these in detail with Carrie has a more detailed schedule than this. It shows exactly what each purpose is. One of the big changes there, that first line, working funds, it's increased by $500,000, and that's just the county. A lot of that is the money that the county redistributed to West Grey for their bridge project. So that will be spent this year. And the other large change is down in general government. It went from $682,000 to $1.5 million, and that's where the year-end surplus that we've seen on the first page of $1 million was transferred to reserves for capital purposes for future years. So overall, reserves have increased by $1.6 million. Okay. So the final note I want to talk about is a new one again this year. It's on the last page, or it's on page 30. So when we issue an audit opinion, we have to disclose everything that's happened right up until the audit report date, so up until today's date. So if any material or unusual or out of the ordinary transactions that happen up to this date, we're required to disclose them as a subsequent event. So it just says here on April 4th, the municipality entered into an agreement to purchase a building for $315,000. And that's just saying that they have entered into a material transaction after year end, and that's the end of that, I guess. So that's all I have for the financial statements. Like Barry had said, we issued a clean audit opinion. We feel that the statements the finances are sound, and Carrie does a really good job with them. And that's all I have for you here. Any questions?
Any questions, comments, thoughts? No, Mr. Bell.
Well, just
John?
anytime you get a good report like that, obviously it's to do with some of the staff that we have here. And Carrie, you're always very mindful of the figures and keep us in check, and congratulations to you. Obviously, no red flags raised. Thank you very much, Kevin and Brian, just for everything you've done. Sorry? Barry, I'm sorry, I said Brian. Barry, excuse me. But it's a pleasure to deal with you gentlemen. You're concise and keep us on the straight and narrow also. So all around, good day.
Okay. From the chair, I would like to make one comment. You made that on the first line there, or the first page that we went through on our balance sheet, noting that we have probably a significant amount of outstanding taxes to be collected. Just to make a comment on that, I think we've gone over it. It's been noted a few times. We as a council set the policy on that collection and have tried the soft touch for a few years on trying to work with property owners, businesses out there. And Carrie, over the last year, we put some policies around that Carrie has started to implement. We did see some in 2015, a movement on that, but as you did note, our penalties on the accumulated are exceeding what we in 2015, but we hopefully going forward in 2016 and going forward of making a substantial dent on making that collection and having the individuals that are diligent and paying their taxes are not penalized by those that are not. So we have some policies in place, and I think we discussed those, and we're hopeful in 2016, Carrie, to see some results in bringing that number down, because we are higher than other comparative municipalities. And thank you for working with us as well, too, on getting some of those policies in place. Okay. Anything else? Barry?
I was just going to say,
Last word? Go ahead.
we would like to have a motion to pass the financial statements sometime tonight to issue the.
So is the idea that you will stay around until you see us absolutely pass that? I believe it's on number 19. 20 is adjournment. Number 19 is where we see that. It'll be in Carrie's report coming up, and I think it's one of the first things. I know that I'm not as familiar, Barry, with your activities, but I know Mr. Trimble wants to get home and watch the last part of the hockey game at least possible, so it is coming up. Again, thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure, and I think speak for staff and certainly senior management team. It's a pleasure working with Kevin and the as lead on our he's worked around the office a few times under the tutelage, but he is the tutor now, so it's been a privilege working with BDO, and I'll just express that and say thank you for the support and the work. Good.
Thank you.
Okay. That's it for that aspect of it. So we're down to staff reports and the Director of Finance Treasurer. Yeah, we'll be there in 5. We'll rush through this and be there in 5 minutes, Barry. So you can actually witness it. We pass this. So Carrie, the first one is the voucher that we've had. It's been in our package. So I ask council if there's any comments on the voucher at this point on the vouchers. Any comments, questions? None at this point in time. Then I'll introduce the motion. It's moved by John A. Bell and seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that the Director of Finance Treasurer be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher number 9, 2016 of the Municipality of West Grey in the amount of $329,724.08. Any further comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, thank you, Mayor. The next one is a motion to accept the audited financial statements. I have a motion moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby accepts and approves the Municipality of West Grey's consolidated financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2015, as prepared by BDO Canada LLP. Any further questions or comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. I can't do any more for you guys. It's an open and public meeting. Stay as long as you want. Yeah, sure. Thank you very much again, Barry, Kevin. The final one was a tabled motion. And there was some questions asked on the real-term energy LED streetlight investment and the audit. I think staff has gone back and kind of the report is there on what can be. Carrie, any further comments other than what's in the report?
I do have a bit more information from Michelle from Real-Term. I had posed a few questions to her, but I didn't have the answers at the time of preparing the report. So the cost on a per fixture for the 6 lights, the decorative lights at Marshall Heights, was $1,855 installed is the cost of those. So if you were looking at pulling those from the project, you're looking at about $11,000. The McDonald Crescent fixture was $1,945 installed. So if you remove those 2, basically 7 lights from the decorative fixtures, they don't affect the incentive portion of the application or the project here because the decoratives aren't eligible for the incentive. So then that would change your cost per fixture from $521 per fixture to $502. We have assumed the first phase of the Marshall Heights, so the lights are ours. If this was 10 years later, you'd be looking at this. So they are ours to deal with. The rest of it going forward will be the developers, but we've assumed it. It's our road. It's our so you can, whether you want to have change them out now so that they're all the same consistent light pattern all the way through. Otherwise, you're going to have 2. You've got the non-LEDs right now, and the remainder of the development will be LEDs provided. That's what we stipulated to the developer now. We haven't assumed the McDonald Crescent yet, but it will be momentarily assumed. So if negotiations again can take place, that's between us and the developer, not part of this project. If you want to switch that LED out, is move forward. It would just be whether he reimburses us, but that's a contract between us and the developer, not the realtor, if you want to switch that one out. The Elmwood light fixtures, the salvage value, they also did indicate that the fixtures must be recycled and sent as part of this in order to get the incentive on it. So there is no salvage revenue to be had there, because it has to be, they have to take it and process that. So I think that was the only other questions perhaps there.
Any other comments on the report or thoughts of lifting it? Go ahead, Carol.
Well, I am just not clear. Maybe I would ask Carrie, would you recommend that we deal with those lights in Marshall Heights, or since they're only, what, 1 or 2 years old, would we be as well to leave them on to, like, for 10 years or whatever, and then make the change? Like, it's fairly substantial what the amount would be, and there's no grant.
No, the
Yeah.
decorators aren't eligible for the incentive, so it's, the cost is the cost. It's up to yourselves whether you want to, how fast is the rest of the phases going to be developed? Is there going to be yellow lights and white lights? Are the residents going to be complaining about that? And then we'll be doing it 2 years from now to appease them? Or are you going to just leave them in there with 2 different light patterns or light quality? There's a different quality of the light. That's entirely whether you do them now or do them 10 years from now. But there will be a difference, I would suspect, because they are sort of an orangey yellow, I think, when you go down there now, not that white light. So if the next phases are going to be progressing sooner rather than later, the residents will notice that difference as soon as the next phase is installed. That would be the only concern without doing it now.
Any other thoughts on that? Don, Councillor Marshall.
I guess so, to put the new Cobra heads in there, we'd have to take the light standards out and put poles in.
Yeah, the existing poles in Marshall Heights will not facilitate a Cobra head.
And
So
then-
you'd be looking at a whole pole if you wanted to change from the decorative lights. Yeah.
And would that be included in the incentive?
I don't know whether she can go back and reapply for that. I'd have to check with her and see. And I don't know if it's the whole pole or if it's just the light switching. I can further clarify that, but the existing poles couldn't be used if you wanted Cobra heads in there.
Anything further? Thoughts? Doug? Councillor Hutchinson.
How many lights are there in the Marshall Heights? How many do we say?
6.
6? So I would suggest maybe if we're doing it, it'd be the time to do it. But my other question is, I'd be in favor of going ahead and getting this organized, get it started, but is there an opportunity to negotiate? Because as Councillor Thompson had mentioned about the ball diamonds, maybe looking at the ball diamond lights, and then the other one I thought maybe we should look at is the tennis court lights in Durham, and maybe there's others in other areas that we need to look at, so it would be worthwhile negotiating at some point to say, can we add certain lights? So I would hope we could do that.
I did ask her about like the depots and the ballpark lighting. She said, yes, we can include other outdoor lighting. Just send them sort of photos of the existing fixtures close up and further back, and as much information on the wattage and the manufacturers they can gather to see what they can provide so that it's sufficient lighting, especially at the ballpark, so that it's not shadowy without extra poles as well. But they seemed open to it.
Brent? Mr. Glasser?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, I apologize to Carrie, and I can't remember if I indicated to you that I reached out to the developer's electrician, Jamie Durer, who is an electrician, I believe, in Mount Forest. Or anyways, I reached out to him to ask him, because he installed the existing fixtures out there at Marshall Heights, and asked him if there was a kit, a retrofit kit that could be utilized inside the existing pendant-style lights that are out there. He wasn't sure. I was waiting for him to get back to me, but he indicated to me that he priced out the identical pendants with LED fixtures for phase, I think he told me phase 2 or 3. And the additional cost over and above what's there now is approximately $500 per pole. Now, having said that, I haven't got anything concrete, but that's another option, and possibly cheaper, is that the gentleman that owns Marshall Heights, I'm sorry, is that maybe the council negotiates with him and say, you come good for the cost of the current model, and possibly council considers paying the additional funds to upgrade it to an LED style, pendant style light that's currently out there as another option.
Interesting.
I'm waiting.
Mr. Padfield,
Sorry?
the owner of the...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Padfield.
I haven't heard back from Jamie yet, Mr. Durr, and I've been waiting for him, but unfortunately I thought I would bring that as another option to seek, to give me another couple of weeks to search that out and come back with hopefully a more informed decision, possibly at the next Committee of the Whole meeting on the 30th, and bring back hopefully some better information to provide council.
Remind me again, Kerry, the deadline that Michelle had us under accepting and going forward with this?
The incentive, she notes indications are the incentives will be significantly reduced in June. However, our incentive pre-submission has been supported, so we should be okay. That each time they sort of revisit the program, the incentives seem to get lower. But we have done this pre-submission, so she thinks we should be fine, but otherwise it is scheduled to sort of projected to go down again in June. The program has changed 3 times and sort of reiterated itself each time, but the incentives seem to get reduced each time.
But in saying that, we may be in some difficulty if we stretch it out too far and they will not let us go back that far and put us into the next one.
Fine, but yeah, it's not something we want to sit on too much longer.
Exactly. So there's 6 lights in Marshall. There's 1 in McDonald's Crescent, 6 in Marshall Heights. And there is 5, was it 500? Remind me of the total, yeah, 17 were the total lights. So we're talking about 7 out of 517 here. And I think Mr. Glasser has spoken of, sorry, and I'll keep doing that. I might as well just call you Brent because I keep butchering your last name. Brent? Yeah, I know I have. Brent working with the developer down there of doing something of maintaining, and I know it was part of the developers to have a decorative lighting in the subdivision, just as something different. But is there a possibility of working with Marshall Heights, the developer, and coming up with a decorative light and offsetting what we have there and going forward to maintain the consistency? But it may be outside of the program itself. But as I say, it's 517 and we're talking about 7 lights, so. Just for background information, what is the thoughts? We have this motion was tabled and there's some new information on that. We can, from what Carrie has said, the other aspect is coming forward is on the ball diamonds, noting that Ayton Diamond was just done last year, or last fall.
Yeah,
Yeah,
late
so it's
fall,
in
and there
215.
was a rebate coming. We haven't received it yet, but
Yeah,
there's a
that one
rebate
was
coming,
done
so
on that
8
program.
is okay, yeah.
So it would be the two diamonds, Newstead and I'm not sure what's in Newstead, because those were done not that long ago either, but certainly the Durham diamonds have been a while since those lights were looked at. I'm hopeful that Councillor Hutchinson is going to be the one that shimmies up to the top of the pole and does the close-up photograph of those lights. He was flying pretty high on Saturday night at the dancing, Highland Flying. Rob? No,
Just on the ball diamond lights in Durham, when I asked that question of her, I was kind of under the impression that she may apply for this program down the road and maybe at the next go around for this funding, or?
Yeah, like it wouldn't, this incentive pre-submitted or pre-approved doesn't include those types of fixtures or,
Yeah.
so, but it's certainly, they can look at applying and see what kind of incentive is out there.
Yeah.
Based on what
Yeah.
the model is that needs to be replaced.
Personally, myself, I don't think there's a real issue at this point. There was an issue with the one light on the A diamond being out. And at our recreation meeting last Thursday night, Randy has found a company that can supply the ballasts. For that, it's just a matter of having an electrician come in and changing that to get that light working. If we were going to do anything, the poles on B diamond are wooden poles, and the standards would probably be changed, have to be changed eventually. But I wonder if the ball diamonds and possibly the tennis courts could be set up for another program. Yeah, and deal with this issue tonight and move on.
all right. Anything else? Don? Councillor Marshall?
Well, I think at this time, when we're moving on this project, is take the 6 decorative lights out of Marshall Heights and put poles in and put the Cobra heads on them. And then have that as standard lights going down that, through there. Because it's not a cost factor now when the developer's going to pay for these decorative lights, and if there's 6 in there now, there's probably going to be 20, 25 maybe. It's replacing the decorative lights 30 years from now, when they're not $10,000 decorative light or 500, they're 4 times as much as a pole fixture. 13,000?
13 lights.
13 lights? 13 additional lights.
No, I think there's 13 total.
13 total?
Yeah,
13 total, so 7.
Okay.
so there'd be another
So
7.
in 20, 25 years now, and they all have to be replaced, there's going to be a lot more cost in that subdivision than there is to replace 13 poles for the town of Durham. It's a pole to hold the light. Why should they have any better light pole in Marshall Heights than they have in the town of Durham? They don't pay any higher taxes for their lights, unless we're going to put that on.
That was an issue that was discussed a long time ago in area rating lights, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure we want to go back onto that. It's been accepted. But it is under the site plan in the subdivision as to what, and agreed upon on that lighting scheme that's down there under the site plan, I believe, Mark.
Do you mean the?
Yes, the
it's on
decorative
the
lighting.
site plan, the decorative lighting for the additional phases as well?
I believe that's the way it reads. Am I mistaken on that, Brent? Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that decorative lighting was what was included in the site plan, that that's what he was going to use and agreed upon with us. So it may take changing the site plan, which it's a matter of negotiation at this point in time.
Just
Yeah.
for clarification, because I'm not sure I'm on the right page. If we were to remove those 6 decorative lights, first of all, they belong to us, we could sell them. That's my number one question. What would it cost for the pole and the light to go in there, and would any of that be granted under this program? Or would, because we're replacing decorative lights, would it be totally our cost? I know we're not putting them back in, but like...
Carrie?
Check with Michelle on if the pole and the fixture, if it's just the fixture. I don't know if the pole, if replacing a pole would...
I'm just asking the fixture, would it be included in this grant if we're replacing decorative lights with the LEDs? Like, we'd have to probably pay the cost for the pole.
I would think so, yeah.
Yes.
Would the light itself hit, would that be covered in this grant?
I'd have to confirm for sure. I know our original pre-submission was based on, was it 540 lights or something, and then when they did the investment grade audit, it came down to 517. So there may be, I'd have to check with her, I'm just making an assumption that maybe there's some room if it's replacing adding another Cobra head, but I'd have to double check with her to be certain.
We may be able to, and to further reiterate that, I think, are we able to slip another 7 in and move it up to 524 and have all of them in this program? But we would certainly, I think, for certain, I think we'd be on the hook for the poles, which, and you said it was, on the 6 lights, it was going to be, what was the number, 30?
For just the fixture, just the,
Yep.
the pole replacement, we're looking at $1,855 installed for replacing the LED fixture on the deck with another decorative.
Yeah.
Per pole, per fixture.
And you're probably looking at hydro poles, I'm thinking, rent, $1,000 a piece, $1,500? I think they are concrete out there. Yeah, concrete pole installed would be
I'm
quick off
sorry,
the top of your head. Come on.
They won't be cheap.
No. Doug?
Why don't we, since these lights, there's not an incentive for them, why don't we put them on hold, just like we were talking ball diamonds, tennis lights, whatever, and look at that down the road, but get the other ones done now. Go ahead with the 517 or whatever. We maybe negotiate something with the developer, like, because if they're putting more lights in, is he paying for those light standards? Are we paying for those light standards? And maybe at that time there will be some LEDs, so then we look at going back and fixing these at that time. I'd say I wouldn't want to see that this hold up the operation of getting the rest done and getting the savings, so I'd say put the decorative lights on hold and carry on.
So I've handed out a motion to lift the tabled motion, which was motion 172-16. Go ahead with these. And Carrie, if I understood correctly, Michelle said that they will be coming back out. It may not be as lucrative or the percentage being as high, but be an opportunity to submit some of our recreational lighting and in question, as Doug has said, in question Marshall Heights, and give us a chance to work with the developer on a change in site plan. Okay? I'm going to put the motion forward that I have. It's moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by Doug Hutchison. Resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby lifts Resolution 172-16 from the table. So we're just lifting the motion to further investigate and see where we go with it. All those in favor? Lifting?
Got a question? As far as lift, okay.
Yeah.
I can ask a question once it's left.
Yes, yep, okay, to lift it, the motion to lift. All in favor? Any opposed? Declare that one carried. Okay. Now, Mark, I'll reintroduce. Motion moved by Don B. Marshall, seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby approves the proposal from Real Term Energy for the LED streetlight project with internal financing from the General Capital Reserve with payback from the annual streetlight utility savings. Now, questions. Carol?
That would include the replacement, that includes those decorative lights, right? So if we want to amend, we would want to amend that if we're not going to deal with the decorative lights at this time.
That's right. If you wanted,
Right.
you'd have to amend. You're correct. We'd have to make an amendment to this if you wanted to do that at this time.
Otherwise, if it passes, then it's
The the process says,
decorative lights with decorative lights, right? Yeah, like.
yeah, to work, to see what options we could go with. I think Brent had said the developer may want to go with decorative LED in there. And that's a possibility in talking to Jur of putting in.
I was just talking to the electrician, and
Yeah.
he indicated that he had priced out both ways to the Mr. Padfield. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're,
I would amend it, but I'm not sure, I'm not sure of the wording. I guess with the exception or with the deletion of the decorative, the okay, yeah, yes, because there's park decorative lights in there too, isn't it? Right. Well, then my amendment would be, as Carrie said, excluding,
my understanding is this motion doesn't have the decorative lighting in it.
yes, it does, Mr. Mayor. Yeah,
So those ones were,
517 lights includes the 7 decorative that have been in question, 6 at Marshall Heights and 1
One
on
on Mc-
McDonald.
okay,
So that would get it
All
down
right,
to
I'm
510.
right. So that's what you're
so
moving?
my amendment would be excluding
Decorative.
7 decorative lights in Marshall Heights and McDonald
6
Crescent.
in Marshall Heights, 1 in McDonald Crescent,
Yeah.
or on McDonald Crescent.
Yeah, but we need to clarify where they are, because there's other decorative lights in there that are being replaced in the parks, the old ones.
Right. But this is specific to those 7.
Those 7.
Councillor Lawrence is making that as an amendment. I'm going to ask the mover and seconder, is that friendly? Don? Rob? Okay. I can take that. Do I need a seconder? Do I need a seconder for a friendly amendment? No. No? So I'll ask staff to wordsmith that amended to exclude the 6 Marshall Height decoratives and the 1 on McDonald Crescent to be, and the understanding to be dealt with going forward at another application. Okay. Mover and seconder have accepted that as a friendly amendment. Any other questions or comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. All right, Carrie? Any other statements, questions, comments? Any questions for Carrie? You're off the hook. You want to take a 2-minute break, Councillor Cutting? I think maybe we have been at it for a little over 2 hours, so. Yes?
Just if I may, Deputy Mayor Bell alluded to it earlier, but I just wanted to commend Carrie and her team for the great work she did on the financial statements this year. We overlook a lot of the great work that's done here, and just accepted as standard, but this is over and above the standard work, and it was a great job this year. And I just want to pass my kudos along to Carrie and her team for the great work she did with the budget and with the audit. When auditors are raving about the work you do, I don't know how much better it gets, to be brutally honest. So I just would like that in the minutes that formally recognize Carrie and her team for the work they did.
It is a team effort. That we have it's a depth of team behind me, that's for sure.
Very good. Okay. All right, we're going to take a 5-minute break. 4 minutes to pat Carrie on the back and 1 minute to do whatever you want. Okay. Just take a short break. Thank you. Okay. Call the meeting back to order. And I believe we have our Director of Infrastructure and Public Works, Brent. Thank you for being here. This will be your first report to council. As the no, but it's informative, and that's what we're looking for here.
That was one of the recommendations in the strategic plan, I believe, is communication.
Yes, you've read it and understood it. Thank you. The report's there in front of us. I don't believe I know that there's no recommendations there, but just really an update on where we're at. So any further comments on it, Brent, or questions for Mr. Glass? Okay. All right, if there's nothing on the report, any other questions for Brent? Carol.
Thank you. It's not a question, it's, I guess, a comment or a statement. I happened to take a look at the, what street is that? That's Queen Street, where it runs from the bridge along to the town hall, and I don't know if you know where that is, Brent, but there's an old page wire fence there that's almost completely demolished, and it's quite dangerous. I hadn't actually noticed it before, but I was going over there today, and there's an area that actually a kid could slip right down. It needs to be fenced properly. I guess it's just something that's maybe gone by the wayside, but perhaps you'd look into it. It's on Queen Street and County Road 4. That's Lambton Street. Lambton Street
north.
West and Queen Street.
North.
No, that's still, yep, north, sorry.
It's north.
Yeah,
It's north of 4.
Yep.
It's north of Lambton.
Yeah, it's just along the river before you get to the park, as you come along Queen Street, and you're going towards the fire hall and the town hall. It's just along there.
I'll have my staff look into that.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, anything else? Questions? Bev?
I'd like to ask a question.
Dawn, can you turn the microphone on for Ms. Cutting? She's challenged.
I'd like to ask a question on bylaw 48. Should I do that to Brent? Brent, bylaw 48. Can you look at section 13? I have a question on that section. It talks about MAI will pay reasonable engineering, legal cost, expenses in connection with the negotiation, prep, execution, and delivery of this agreement, and modifications of this agreement, and all the documents furnished pursuant hereto or in connection herewith shall be limited to $5,000, together with any reasonable fees and out-of-pocket expenses incurred in connection with the enforcement of this agreement. I can't imagine that $5,000 to enforce an aggregate agreement is anywhere close to being a reasonable amount. I mean, if we had to, and I know this agreement's till 2023, but if we had to at some point question or court order or something like that, if we had to do that, there's no way $5,000 is going to be anywhere near an upset, or should be an upset limit for that kind of thing. Can you comment? Probably not. Just.
I had some concerns when I originally looked at this at the beginning of the week. I'm told it's been in the works for some time now. I just wanted to, me personally, I just happened to see this week, and I don't really have a lot to comment on. I do have some concerns with some of the things that are currently in place. Actually, the gentleman was in today, the manager, Mr. Schutnick. Ron was in today. And it's just that I haven't had the privy to view the plans or any of the engineering parts of it, and I don't know where. I asked Mr. Schutnick to get a hold of his, his engineer to forward me copies of the plans so that I could visually assess them to look at what the proposed road alignment is going to be like and what the future elevation of the existing road is going to be like on, what's the road called? I'm sorry. Old 23.
Glenelg 23.
Glenelg 23, thank you. And also the fact that the existing conditions, I have a concern only from a liability standpoint with the municipality and including themselves, that the cement blocks that are currently in place are not the proper protection standard for our road allowance. And, you know, it's something that I would recommend that a 3-cable guide rail system be installed along that one side of the pit to protect. I mean, the ministry, it meets the Ministry of Natural Resources requirements as a barrier, but by no means is it proper roadside protection for motoring public. So that's one of the concerns I had was with respect to that. Having said that, I don't know what at what time they're planning on when this is all going to take place. Like, the cable guide rail is an expense, but I would imagine they're not going to get that road built or have the surface treatment or have anything in place this calendar year. So I would expect that that is an issue that I think needs to be addressed with just to protect the municipality from any liability of a result of a car losing control or, God forbid, a motorcycle or anything. Well, it's not the drop, it's impacting those concrete blocks. But that's just one of the things that are come to mind, but I haven't had the time to really dig into it's just at a first glance, I had a few concerns.
So, with that information, is it absolutely imperative that we pass this tonight, or can that be given, the time be given to Brent to read through this? Because there's a couple of issues in here that I had also, and I'm just wondering if maybe it would be pertinent to let him read it and bring it back, Committee of the Whole.
We have, it was vetted through the former director, and I think, Larry, we certainly had legal go through it.
Well, then maybe legal should answer the questions for me about why we're only holding why we're putting an upset limit of $5,000 on something that potentially could be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars if there's a court action, or if there is some kind of reason that we need to take them to court to fulfill this agreement. We're talking $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 it could be. And we've got an upset limit of $5,000, which will be used up in like a day and a half. That's one of my concerns. There are a couple of others in here, but
I guess I'm looking at, is it, when you get into insurance, is 10 million enough? That's a number 12. And maybe that's why they feel that a direct and then your insurance kicks in.
But does insurance kick in when you're in court? Insurance kicks in if there's issues with, different things, but I don't know if insurance will kick in if we have to take them to court to fulfill the agreement. Or if there's questions on the agreement, I don't know. I guess somebody can answer. I don't know.
Probably legal interpretation as it always is, Bev. Can I put it this way? It's something to think about until we get to bylaws and, bringing that question up and having Mr. Glasher, Brent, bring this one forward. So having that discussion, let's move on. And when we get down to that bylaw, then we can have a little time to process it and think what we're going to do when we get to that point, okay, on the agenda, Bev? Yep. Okay, thank you. All right. Any other questions for Brent? Okay. Seeing none, thank you very much, Brent. CO Deputy Clerks. Larry, first one is AMO is looking for applications for delegations to the conference, which is coming up in August in Windsor.
That's correct, Your Worship, and we have until June 29th to get the requests in for delegations, which I'm not sure why, because they let us know the day before. Anyway, but we have to have our delegation requests in by June 29th, and I'm looking for council direction should we wish to have any specific delegations established for this conference. There's been some discussions amongst the neighboring clerks to do joint delegations like we did at the Good Roads Convention, or Roma Convention, but I looked to council for direction on both those issues.
Bev?
Wondering if there could be a joint delegation to, pick a ministry, of what Grey County is talking about and putting forward the joint resolutions about the process for the wind turbines. I'm wondering maybe energy, who would that be? MOE? They grant the applications, but just the fact that the Grey County has supported the open transparency of changing the process for the different projects being granted. For example, that unwilling hosts do not get the projects. I know it's laughable, but maybe that needs to be a joint delegation to really hammer home some of the concerns that Grey County has with the way the province is allotting these turbine projects against municipality and a number of other residents, county.
That's the Ministry of Environment and Climate, Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change.
Yeah, they're the ones who grant it, so I would assume that would be, and that should be a joint. Like, the more you can get, the better, I think. You could get all of Grey County, a representative from all of Grey County councils.
Was that question if council so wishes?
Okay. What I was thinking about was Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services, CSCS. The Police Services Act is from the police conference just this past week. Minister Natvi was there and had made the indication that the Police Services Act will be open. Didn't say exactly, but the conference, everybody was anticipating it would be this fall. Strangely enough, we heard at Good Roads it was going to be this spring. Now it's pushed off to this fall. But just meeting with him on that and the future of policing, FPAC, where they're at with that and the greater impact of the future cost of policing and what some of the changes might be a chance to meet with the minister there and give council some insight as to what the ministry is looking for on those consultation processes, which have community safety and well-being. Those discussions have ended now. or submissions. They're still looking for input, but the submissions on that have ended. Just one I was thinking of. Bev?
I don't know whether there would be any benefit to long-term care ministry with funding for, what we're going through here with Rockwood. Would there be any kind of reasoning to meet with them? And again, that could be if we could get some other council's reps to come with us as sort of a unified force of trying to save Rockwood, would there be any reason to have a meeting with them for, I don't think it would hurt, and it shows our taking it to the absolute level, but I know the decision is at the county level, but if there was some funding or something that Ms. Robinson seemed to think that there was funding out there, so.
I think that the county has certainly done that, but it wouldn't,
Wouldn't
I've
hurt.
been diligent to look, but, just to make sure. I know it seems to be long-term care is being pushed more from the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Long-Term Care to the LHINs at the present moment, and the county is, I can say, in July, having a meeting with the LHINs is coming to have discussion with County Council at that point in time. But being this is a huge impact and decision that County Council has to make, any more information and quality information we can gather directly from the minister, I can't see why that wouldn't be a favorable request.
I think it would, any information we can get is a bonus.
Okay, Doug?
Yeah, and I'm not sure, I'm sure this has come out before, but maybe before that we'll hear if there's what's happening with the infrastructure monies that's been touted and promoted, that it's coming down the tube, and maybe we'll have all kinds of it by then, but if not, maybe it's worthwhile questioning, what it is and what it's going to look like, and why some municipalities like ours seems to get penalized when it comes to applying to these funds, because we do balance our books and keep our municipality in pretty good shape. We don't seem to be needy enough, so I think they need to look at sharing the wealth and not necessarily worry about who has books balanced or not. So maybe at that time it might be worth talking to someone and get some more information, or maybe it'll be all resolved by that time.
There may be more formulas put out there on application processes. I don't know whether that's going to resolve the rural-urban divide, but good points. And I think, Larry, if I can interpret where you're going with this, was it needs to be thought about and before the 29th of getting our applications in. So we've got a few more times and it's there. Going forward, if there's anything arise, Committee of the Whole, we can speak about it again, and we have 2 council meetings in June before we get, before the deadline cutoff, so let's see what we can get. Next, discussion with waste management proponents and proposal. Larry, update.
Yes, sir. I did meet with the, actually, Mr. Glasser, Brent Glazier and I met with the proponent for the waste management proponent, and there are the couple of issues that the council did raise the questions on. They would be willing to work with us in regards to changing the collection day for the municipality of Durham. They came up with a couple of proposals. We can get into the nitty-gritty moving forward should we decide to do that. We did advise them single pass collection in rural areas was not an option for us. And unfortunately, I was verbally advised that Greyhounds will not be participating in the joint venture. So I was trying to get a hold of the CAO from Chatsworth today to see if we could maybe put a joint call in and see if we get a joint meeting set up, if council is okay with that, to talk to the proponent and see if they are still willing to work out some type of an arrangement with the two of us, with the tonnages that we have, and see the numbers, if they were to change, what they would change. Alternatively, we could look at doing another RFP with just the two of us, or just an RFP for ourselves. Or another alternative would be to look at seeing if we can get an extension, because our contract currently runs until June 30th. So these are all issues that we need some direction on how what council wishes us to proceed. So I guess I'm looking for input from council.
Comments, Bev?
Does the current contract with our service provider still have the clause of a 2% increase per year? I believe that was built in when we had the clause, when we signed the original contract, that instead of renegotiating every year, it was a one cost of living or a 1.5 or a 2% increase per year, and that was the guaranteed rate increase for them. Do you know if that's?
I can't recall off the top of my head. I have to go back
Yeah,
and review
I
that just
can't
to make
either.
sure.
But it may be worth considering signing for a year at 2% or whatever it is. I know it was very low. I know it was, looking into this a little deeper, Grey Highlands has kind of left us in the lurch here, and maybe it's worth signing for a year and getting on it and doing some more homework and research and see what happens.
Your worship, through you,
Go ahead.
Councillor Cutting, I'm not really ready to give up the potential savings we're looking at here at this point in time. I do understand where you're coming from, and if that is the direction of council, we can look into extending that program, but I still am not really ready to give up the proposed savings that we did through the joint process. And if there's any way we could harness them, or at least get that partially, I think that would be a better way to go, but I defer to council's
And I agree with
decision on
you. My only concern is that once that contract runs out, we don't have that option of the 1.5% increase. They
We
can
don't have it anyways, because the contract runs out, Bev.
June
Contract's-
30th.
Yeah, contract's done. Like, that was the in my mind, that was a year ago.
I thought we
that
had a
they would-
negotiated amount that we could.
They extended us from the end of the year to June.
Okay, so I know it was 5
That-
years or something, but, and this is the last year.
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah. And they said they would negotiate. In this new proposal, there's a slight escalation clause in that one as well, too, but on June 30th, there's nothing in there to say that we're optioned.
We have one more year.
Yeah, Carol?
Thank you. Larry, if I might, I noticed in your comments that the company also commented that quoted prices were for the 3 municipalities. So what you're suggesting is that the 2 municipalities should try negotiating with them to try to at least hold some part of that. Is that what you're saying? Because they've obviously said unless the 3 of them are in there, it's not a goal.
That's correct. That was the comment we received from them, speaking with them as just West Grey. And I spoke with Chatsworth because they were meeting with Chatsworth following our meeting, and Chatsworth got the same comments from them as well. So I think if the two of us were to go together and say, look, the third party's not here, but the 2 parties are here, what can we do with these prices is just an option for us. And I will do the best to grind whatever is the best price out of them, if at all possible.
Further? Mr. Bell?
No, and I would wholeheartedly support that, Larry. Do you want to put what do we need, a 3-month, do you want to try for a 3-month extension or something like that? To give us a little time, or do you think we can get it done by the end of June, or?
I would hope we'd have something together by then. We all know that was the date. I would, however, like to have in my back pocket the ability to extend it for a couple months just to make sure. We don't want to rush into things and get caught. We want to take our time and do our due diligence and make sure we're getting the best bang for our proverbial buck. So
I agree with you 100%, and I would fully support that, and knowing that in Chatsworth we do have a willing partner that does want to partner with us, and it does benefit both of us. Unfortunately, our other partner doesn't want to at this time. I think that could change at some other time, but that's up to them to come to us next time.
Don? Councillor Marshall?
I appreciate the concept that we're going to go for the 5-year contract and have some savings here. But I think that over the bigger picture is that we're burying 90% of the waste that we should not be burying. We're filling that Durham landfill site in 5 years and not 50 years. So the savings that we're going to have over the 5 years is just a percentage of the savings we could possibly have if we did a better job of managing our waste in-house. So I would say we maybe extend the contract for a year just to put a plan in place of how we're going to get the recyclables and the compostables out of our landfill site. I think we should strike a committee of public citizens, mostly public citizens in that committee, and discuss, have them put a plan together or bring back information of how we can possibly do that. Make our landfills last, because when they're filled, what are we doing then? The price will double for us to haul our waste to London, to Waste Management's landfill? Or maybe it's going to Michigan, or we're looking at an incinerator. So we're at a 5-year short-term money-saving plan with Waste Management that we're gonna, what was our savings? 200,000 a year?
150.
150,000 a year.
I am not saying that I disagree with you. You know, we've done some investigation, spent a lot of personal time and effort on incineration a number of years ago, Don, and I still think that that's the way it is. Although Grey County doesn't have enough refuse to effectively and efficiently operate an incinerator. To change any aspect, it has to go through the Ministry of Environment on our landfills, and I'm just being realistic here. Even to set up a compost at your landfill is going to take a certificate of approval amendment, minimum, and that's what I heard at OSM, and a question that I directed directly, as I just reported, to Mr. McMeekin, was on the Ministry of Environment and their permitting process. What I heard from other elected officials after proposing that, minimum, you'll be 24 months getting a response. Not a permit, but a response on where you want to go from the Ministry of Environment. So I'm not, happy with that, not saying that we can't, but in that, it means that, we've got to find some place somehow to manage that resource and try and figure out how to maximize the life of our landfill and to get that going. I think on the pickup side of it, if, there's many ways out there for us to look at that, but in the meantime, I see it being in tandem for 5 years of being able to get a program, get it set, get it in place, and at the end of that 5 years, know exactly where we're going and that are ready or already have met your goal of reduction of 90%. But I agree with you, it should be done tomorrow. But in the political environment and the regulatory environment that we're in, there is absolutely no way of us seeing that.
Well, then we're already over the cliff then.
Yeah, there may be that possibility. I think that we can do it, but I would see it doing it in tandem. It's a service that we've had. And a number of councillors here will say that, from the comments from the public, that we'll need to continue, but we must improve, as you've said, but I see it being in a tandem spot. So I think we need the contract at this point in time with our partners,
and that 100, whatever we're going to save, we can take that funding and do, is it education program, development of, you know, application for C of A, but we need that savings. We've got to find the savings to be able to supply the revenue to do the programming that we need to get to that reduction and change in our operations. Doug?
Yeah, I agree with Don, what he's saying. I think we can do a better job of you know, using, getting our recycles into the proper places and so on. And I think there are some other programs out there, and I think, you know, every year things change, and every year somebody comes up with a new idea that might be a little bit innovative that'll help us to solve the problem. But in the meantime, we need to solve our issue with pickup. I'm just wondering if it would be worthwhile, when Larry goes back to this organization, that we give them the option, if they're not wanting to give us the deal or that we originally worked out with the 3 municipalities, maybe since we're going with 2, maybe they would look at 2 or 3 year program. You know, maybe have that as an option in your back pocket. Well, what can you do for us in 2 or 3 years versus 5? Because they too, things change, and who knows where they're at in 2 or 3 years, you know. So maybe that's just another option that we could put on the table if we're negotiating prices.
It's a possibility. I'm feeling that we should give direction to Larry and give us an update come May 30th at Committee of the Whole. Between what we've given Brent tonight and what we're giving Larry and just everything else that's on Committee of the Whole, be prepared to bring a blanket because we could be here well into the evening, Mark.
I've got a number of items too.
Mark's got some stuff to bring forward, but that, are we consensus to have Larry go and work with Will Moore? Chatsworth has agreed to this program. Grey Highlands certainly hasn't. Maybe that's an option, Don. We can go and ask Grey Highlands. They don't seem to mind spending absorbent amounts of money on collecting garbage. Maybe they'll help us finance solutions to reduce garbage. You know, an extra 300,000 of them means nothing. I'm going to say in direction that we ask Larry to find out what our options are, and is there a possibility of getting a contract with the preferred proponent at this point in time? Okay, Larry? Is anybody? I'm reading the tea leaves on that correctly? Okay. Very good. All right. Larry, you want to give us an update then on your OMAA AGM?
That's correct, Your Worship. I was at the OMAA Spring Annual General Meeting and Training Symposium last week. One of the last speakers was Pat Bonini from the AMO, and she's bringing up the fact that the infrastructure deficit is growing and growing and growing. The $6 billion that we had been preaching, I say we had been preaching, I was on the AMO board for a while, so we were penning out cards and pamphlets and promoting that it was a $6 billion deficit, and that's just growing. It's not getting any easier. We also had a presentation on remote control cars, the driverless vehicles that are coming. The infrastructure required to put that in, I'm just kind of scratching my head going, I can't afford to fix all the bridges and culverts and streets and sidewalks that we have now, let alone put all this infrastructure in for Wi-Fi to assist these cars in moving along our road systems, but perhaps it's coming. I'm not quite as optimistic as the time frame they were proposing, but it is something that's coming, and there's a lot of buzz on it about in the news, but there's significant amounts of infrastructure spending that's going to be required, and we really are going to have to take a good hard look at our transportation plan and how we wish to move forward with that. High-speed internet is a priority with this council strategic plan. We will continue to move forward with that, but it was interesting that they didn't give the numbers, but Stratford was one of the ones, the longtime CAO from Stratford, Mr. Ron Shaw, was there speaking on that behalf, and they built the infrastructure. They did actually build the backbone for the high-speed Wi-Fi in Stratford, and then they actually became an ISP, an internet service provider, with people buying service from them. And the infrastructure that they're having to put in to become the first training area outside of California. California is the only other place where these driverless vehicles can be tested and put on the roadways. The only other one is astronomical. I just can't fathom the cost that's going into that. We're talking about streetlights for a few $100. Well, there's Wi-Fi systems like this going in every quarter block to accommodate these driverless vehicles. So the infrastructure alone is going to be exceptionally interesting to see how that complies. I think it's a long way off, but these are some of the topics that were discussed, and it's a great opportunity to meet and talk to other peers about different pressures and issues that we're facing. So I thank Council for that opportunity.
And just for the audience out there, the OMAA, the Ontario
Municipal Administrators Association. That's correct, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's for Council's information. Also to update Council, we had a Grey County CAOs meeting in Hanover on May the 6th, and we met at the Launchpad Youth Center. Very interesting facility. Uptake seems to be increasing. There is a lot of uptake from the surrounding area as well as Hanover. West Grey has a lot of participating in the facility as well. They've got a lot of great programs started, and more people should take advantage of that, of the youth in our community, if at all possible. So I would encourage them to do that. But it was several topics being discussed at the meeting where Grey County presentations on corporate communications, how we can piggyback with them on corporate communication plans, official plan update, and the county strategic plan. Several topics that the local CAOs brought up were Conservation Authority rules and regulations, distributions of 911 sign blades. Rather than having to go and pick them up at the county site, perhaps the county could transfer them around to the different workplaces, and we could pick them up locally then. Just a few issues like that where we're trying to work together on different issues and joint servicing. So that's also for Council's information as well.
Okay.
Next item I have that will require your direction, Your Worship, is the baseline road update. This is the road with Minto and West Grey that we've been working on. We gave approval and included it in our budget earlier. The tenders went out and have been approved by Minto. They're waiting for our approval as well. We approved a cost of $300,000 for this project. The tenders came back in with a tender pricing of $259,000. This is shade under $260,000 plus HST. So I'm looking for approval from Council to proceed with our share of that, which would be 50%, which would be well within the $150,000 that we have incorporated into the budget.
Okay. I have the motion coming forward here to accept that tender. I have a motion moved by Doug Hutchison, seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby approves the tender from the Murray Group in the total amount of $259,626.80 plus HST, 50% payable by the town of Minto, for the repaving and shouldering of the baseline road in the former township of Normanby. Any further comments? The one thing on this, it is a bit of a new innovative way of repaving. It's not using the grinding. Am I correct in saying that, Brent? Basically laying a sand base down and putting that over top of the base that already exists instead of grinding the pavement. It's been successful in other areas.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the sand pad is used to remove the wheel ruts from the road, and then the application of the hot mix on top of it is applied at a consistent rate. An application that's a standard practice throughout the industry.
Yep. Any further questions or comments? Don?
The A1, A2, and A3, are they not included in the pricing here? I guess they're not, because it went from $476,000 down to $259,000.
They were work over and above what we agreed to participate in. So yeah, those are not included. Only the bottom, the A4, A5, A6, A7, and A8 were the ones that we were going to participate in as a partner. The other was for other work to be done in the town of Minto.
In the town of Minto.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on the tender? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
All I have formally, Your Worship, but if there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to entertain them and answer them if I could.
Any other questions for Larry? Okay. If there's nothing else, then we'll move into bylaws then. Mark? We got that correct? All right, we'll hand out those ones because we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bylaws. 4 and then the confirming one. Yep. Can be brought forward and tabled or right first and second. Bylaw number 45 is dealing with appointment. So I have a motion moved by Don B. Marshall, seconded by Bev Cunning. Be it resolved that bylaw number 45, 2016, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 68, 2015, being a bylaw to regulate the handling and collection of garbage, rubbish, and other waste materials and establish a schedule of fees for the use of the Municipality of West Grey waste disposal sites, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered in the said bylaw, be signed by the mayor and the CEO, deputy clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. 46. Yes?
I think 46, does that not have the wrong preamble? It's got the same preamble as 45, and it's dealing with a permit for tents. But the preamble talks to the handling, bylaw to regulate the handling and collection of garbage, rubbish, and so on.
In the bylaw itself, I think is what you're talking about, Councillor. Being a bylaw to amend bylaw 29, 2016.
It's the right bylaw I refer to, but it's...
Yeah, but
I think it's,
Yes, it should.
Mark, you can explain that?
Yes, it does refer to the correct bylaw, but you are correct, Councillor Lawrence. It should refer to the change to the building code, that preamble. So if council's indulgence, we can look to amend that bylaw for the correct wording.
Or amend the preamble to the bylaw there. Yeah, just correct it. Both of them are in that, in the fees and charges. This one's on the fees and charges of building code, but.
The resolution's correct.
Correct. Yeah, the resolution and the context of it is, but just that piece, you're correct. Yep, thank you for bringing it forward. It will be as amended. So the bylaw is moved by Rob Thompson, second by Doug Hutchinson. Be it resolved that bylaw number 46, 2016, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 29, 2016, being a bylaw under the Building Code Act respecting construction, demolition, and change of use permits and inspections and establishing of building permit fees, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered in the said bylaw, be signed by the mayor and the CEO, deputy clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book as amended. Okay? Everybody's clear with that? And that will be just the preamble there, as Councillor Lawrence has said. Any further discussion? Don?
Are all these tents being inspected?
I can't say 100%. I would assume that the inspections, and in speaking with the building official, having a working relationship, he may not, there may not be the on-site, but on the site of where the tents are coming from, they are inspected. And having that working relationship and you know, that they must have anything bigger than this, that they would have stamped engineering drawings and ongoing, but it will be a development of the working. Imagine the first, absolutely the first go, they will be having inspections, and everything would be inspected from the site of where the tents are coming from.
So we're putting up a tent at a wedding and charge them $75 for permits, and the tent blows down in a windstorm, somebody gets hurt. We've sold a permit for the tent. Maybe some legal wise lawyer says it wasn't put up properly. We're liable.
Yes.
If we don't do the inspection, we're not liable.
No.
Why not?
Ask Southgate. There was an incident last year, and at this point in time, Southgate is in litigation. I don't think that they've resolved that, Larry, at this point in time, but it's under the building code that the municipality shall issue the permit. If you don't issue the permit, now you're in violation of not issuing the permit, and you absolutely will be sued if the tent blows down. And that's what Southgate found out, or is finding out, through the judicial system.
So the building code not tell the building official that he has to go out and inspect these tents or any building?
I'm not 100% sure on what is considered to be inspection. You know, what, I mean, that can be discussed with the building official, you know. I guess you're getting down to the finite of, it's an electrical inspection. Do they pull every wire and look at every connection from every socket that is in the house? Or is it, you know, no, you've done this, this, and this, and this. At what point do you sign off? And we can, you know, I think, good question on what that entails.
I still think it put the municipality in a legal binding. It's one thing to not sell a permit and not go out and inspect, but if you're selling a permit, then you better be out there inspecting everyone.
And I just, you know, trying to be right up front, okay, fine, we'll be out and inspect every one. But what is that inspection process mean?
Is it not inspected by the people who rent the tent? Like the people, the tent companies that rent the tents? Do they
That's what I'm
not
saying.
officially put them up and it's sort of there? Oh, they don't? You can just
No.
rent a tent, you can put it up?
No.
Right.
These tents, yeah, will come through, and that's what I said, they're inspected,
Right,
you know, by the company. Let's
right,
name the company, Four Seasons,
right.
Maumee Tent Rentals and whatnot. From my understanding in talking to John, you know, he has, they put up tents properly, you know, that whole inspection process and what needs to
It's by
be.
them that you
Yes.
rent the tent, well, that's what I thought.
But under the building code, there absolutely has to be a permit for each one that's over, and that's just in the code. And that's what I'm saying, is it physically on site that you would inspect every connection that the screw is done tight? How is that inspection? What is, and I think that John has that under the, meets those requirements, whether he is absolutely on site and sees that the sledgehammer hits every stake 22 times. You know, there are requirements. Rob?
Yeah, just, there's some people that, not a lot, but there's a couple that do have those large tents that they purchase themselves and for events they hold on their own property. Where do they lie when they move that off into another municipal-owned property and so on? So
On municipal-owned property, it's for public occupancy. You know, if you're going to have public coming in and on
Right.
your property, then you shall have, you know, a permit to have the tent on there. So,
And inspected?
yeah.
Okay.
And part of the inspection, you know, is, part of that inspection entails fire extinguishers, you know, the whole bit. Is the tent engineered, designed, or was it made by Omar the tent maker?
Exactly.
I don't know.
I think it's important that, especially those type of dealings, to be inspected, because,
Absolutely.
okay.
But I mean, there are, as I said, John has had a pretty good working relationship or developed that with those tent companies. And exactly. And I think that's what has got, or where Southgate got into some of that, because it was on private property, but it was a public function. I believe it was a wedding. So even though it was invited guests, there's quite a legal schmozzle over it because they didn't have a permit for it. And that's why the municipality, you shall issue permits for those tents. So the legal application for it. Any other discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Oh, that's carried. Okay, bylaw, the next one. Bylaw 47. Larry, you want to speak about that before I
I have a
introduce?
response, yes. The building of CBO indicates they'll only issue a permit for tents that are larger than 645 square feet, and yes, they would inspect each one.
Okay. Very good. So he says he is going to be on site. What that entails, I'm not sure. That's why we have his expertise. On bylaw number 47, you only give me 48, 47. Bylaw number 47 is comprehensive zoning to correct some errors and omissions that have been picked up. I have a bylaw moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that bylaw number 47, 2016, being a bylaw to further amend West Grade Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw number 37, 2006, as amended, to correct certain errors and omissions and to change or add certain provisions to provide clarity to the zoning bylaw, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, deputy clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. And this one, as Mark said, is recommended by the planning committee and was discussed a week ago at our planning meeting. Any further questions or comments? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Mark. Bylaw number 48. Bylaw to for an agreement. It's moved by John A. Bell, seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that bylaw number 48, 2016, being a bylaw to approve and authorize the execution of an agreement between the Municipality of West Grey and Markdale Aggregates, Inc., be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and the CEO, Deputy Clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments on this motion? Don? Councillor Marshall?
Has there been any numbers given about how much aggregate is in that road? How many cubic meters?
Yes, there is an estimate.
I believe there is a quantity, an estimate. Don, I'm sorry, I don't have that with me right now. I can't recall off the top of my head.
Yeah, it won't be that long. So a ton of aggregate is a yard?
Approximately, approximately a loose yard of material weighs approximately about 1.4 tons. Long tons, metric ton.
So compacted?
So compacted is about 2.35 for a cubic meter.
So they're going to know at 40 cents a cubic meter, we're going to get 40 cents a cubic meter for it.
I thought it was by the ton in the agreement.
40 cents a ton in the agreement.
I think that's right.
But I think it's been raised to 80 cents now.
If they don't fulfill their...
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm...
That's 40 up until you're correct on that, and then it jumps to 80 if they haven't got it out in the required time.
I'm sorry, yeah, I'm reading the wrong paragraph, sorry.
Yeah.
So I just wondered what ballpark figure of how much that is worth. By 2023, how much are we going to get out of that?
I'd have to go back and look at one of my suggestions, and I don't, excuse me, I don't know if it's been undertaken yet, but is to section the entire area that they're going to extract. And what I mean by that is having a surveyor come in and do, take elevations every 10 meters along or every 30 meters along that corridor to determine the actual volume that's in place. And you can easily, one of the things or concerns I had is that we're allowing them to be the stewards of weighing this material. One of the things that is more concrete evidence is to actually do a volume calculation, and that I mean, it's very easy to convert meters to tons or things like that, and then it leaves no dispute in the end, or at least coming up with a value at the beginning of having them agree that there's approximately this many tons of material in this bank. The veins and gravel is very difficult as they excavate it. If it's, excuse me, if it's sand, it's going to be weighing up later. If it's gravels, you know, so it depends on the composition of the material under that road. And I don't know what the test holes revealed for the composition of the gravel. Having looking at it, I would believe it's going to be fairly stony after viewing it. But one of my recommendations is that that whole property be resurveyed right from the bottom of the pit on the east side. That's the, sorry, not the east side, the west side.
Okay.
Okay, so from the toe of the slope, just over the fence line, up over top of the road and into the handy pit or Markdale Aggregates pit, and do a proper section analysis, and then determine, based on the conceptual design of what the road platform is going to be at whatever year it is when they're the road elevation, you'll be able to come up with a pretty good concrete volume of the material in hand that they are going to extract, and then come back with a tonnage on that material. But I don't have that information in front of me. That's just some of the things that, as I was reading this, that came to mind when I was doing it.
I know on doing the road design and working with the Markdale Aggregates that some of that may be in Ken's elevations, but as you said, absolutely in 10-meter segments. I'm not sure, but I know that it was volume calculated and peer-reviewed by ourselves, that was what they come up with.
And I know Ron Schutnick, if his engineering company can provide that information, again, I just don't have that at my privy, so I don't know if that actually factually exists right now. I'm thinking it does.
Yes.
But just for me to view that information, just to make sure that we agree with the volumes and things like that, to make sure that the municipality isn't going to be shortchanged years down the road. So.
Okay, John?
So real quick, is there any hurry to do this now? Are we going to table this till, Brent, whatever time you want to have a look at it? Let's move this along.
Go ahead, Brent.
I think it's been an issue that's been going on for quite some time. I do need a bit of time, but whether or not I can facilitate this by the 30th, I'll do my best to come back with the information at that time. And then
maybe you don't need to have it here the 30th, Brent, but I mean, if we had it in 60 days, are they pushing for this? Is this a crucial bit of...
No, I think the answers are going to be reaching out to the Markdale Aggregates consultant to find out what plans they have. I just don't have anything. I looked for it in Ken's files, and I just couldn't find anything.
Okay. No, well, fair enough.
So what do you want me to do with this? Have the motion on the floor. Yeah, I mean, you can table it for whatever you want to call it, but...
I think that's a wise idea, because there's some questions on, that I had about the contract you couldn't answer just because you haven't looked at it. So I think we should. I think there's enough questions around the table. Give Brent some time to look over it and come back with some answers.
So you're moving that, Beth?
Pardon?
You're moving that?
Yes, I am moving that.
Okay. Rob?
Just going to add to that, I agree. I don't think we should be setting a time limit for Brent to do that, and whenever he gets everything in order, I'm concerned with the cement abutments that are there and everything else, and whatever you need to, time frame you need to work at it, I think it's important. I don't think we need to put a time frame on it.
No, a motion to table doesn't, it's, when we have the information and we're willing to relook at it, that's what a motion to table is. All right. I have a motion moved by Councillor Cutting, seconded by Councillor Lawrence. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby tables Resolution 196-16, which is bylaw number 48. Seeing as there's no discussion on the motion to table, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Attach that one to it, Mark. Bylaw number 49, moved by Don B. Marshall, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that bylaw number 49, 2016, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the May 16, 2016 council meeting, be now read first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, deputy clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, thank you, Mark. Okay, keep timing out. Any new business? Doug, Councillor Hutchinson.
A couple items that I just wanted to get you some direction on. One being the Durham Tennis Club, or Durham Tennis Courts. We've been looking at forming a club to try to help look after and keep them secure so that they don't receive any damage. So we are working on forming a club. and charging membership and locking the gates to the Durham tennis courts. So that's in the works, and we did talk about that before, so hopefully people will be supportive of that. And it's sort of like we hope to, the club will sort of run like the soccer club, the baseball organization, sort of independent, and maybe eventually work through the Durham Recreation Committee in terms of reporting and whatnot. I think that would be appropriate, but that's what we're working at right now. I have some people interested, and we've had a meeting, and there is interest there.
On a personal basis, I think that, you know, if it was a system that has worked in the past, it kind of petered out, but the soccer club does a wonderful job on it, on the soccer diamonds, and has an agreement with the municipality on the property. It's a municipally owned property. Try and enter into an agreement for the club to run it, and if that fails or doesn't proceed, then it would be under the recreation. I'm feeling that that's where it would be, is under the recreation department, so they can work away with it. Rob?
Yeah, it was just, yes, Doug and I did speak about this, and I guess our goal is to get it represented from the tennis club and from the soccer club, and now we have minor ball, and bring them onto our recreation committee and share the information, work together as one group like the way it should be. So hopefully this will start the ball rolling and continue on and make things better for all recreation.
Very good.
And I do have one other item.
Sure.
Okay, just a correction. That was a soccer pitch rather than soccer diamond. That's ball diamonds and soccer pitch. Just to correct that.
Technically, but he is correct there, Mr. Thompson.
I stand corrected. The Grey Bruce Health Unit is wants to do a healthy food survey, or in the process of doing it. And I know they did come around, they looked at some of our recreation centers in terms of foods that are provided and whatnot. But this survey, they want to send out to all the organizations like the minor ball, minor soccer, minor hockey, and so on, that are using not only our facilities, but our food booths and so on, just to get input back on healthy food choices. And is there an interest out there in some of the food booths for things other than maybe chocolate bars? Maybe there's fruit, maybe there's yogurt, maybe there's carrots and so on. So they're just looking to get input, and I think it's a good starting point to get some input from parents, and maybe they'll find out that most people say, no, when I go to the arena, I want French fries, and that's all I want. I think there's other interests, but anyways, that's what they're looking at, and I would just like to, if we have support, I would contact user groups and just steer them towards, I think they're using SurveyMonkey for the survey, so steer them in a direction to get their organizations to give us some input.
Any comments on that? It's something that the health unit has been trying to promote. It's good stuff, but it's still consumer driven. Carol?
That's what I was going to say. It's similar to the survey that we sat through with the health unit before, and we had our operator from Eaton there. And he had tried many of those things. He had had fruit there. He'd had done. You know what? It's not what the kids want. It's not what the parents want. And please remember, that's a private operator in our facilities. We don't run the canteens. We can suggest, but we certainly can't dictate. But he had tried it, and he had good food, and the kids go there, and apparently they want a treat. They don't want what they have to have at home.
Well, I think at least by this survey that we'll get more input back from the parents, and yeah, I know there are some that go there and that's what they want. They want the candy and they want the junk food. But I think as a municipality too, it's our responsibility to try to put it out there that we do want healthy choices in our arenas, just like our pop machines. We had some input on what we had in our pop machines, and so we
have.
Sorry?
What we didn't have in our pop
That's right,
machines.
but we got away from having just serving pop, right, and certain energy drinks. So I think this is another opportunity for us to take the leadership role in terms of giving some healthy choices. And sure, if is an independent operator, if they're not making any money on it, they're not going to have it. But if the people are buying it, then they may have it. So.
But I guess the biggest thing is how is the survey set up? And if it's set up and it comes out, we don't want, the community says, we don't want, this is what we want as our choices. French fries and onion rings, Is it great for you? Is it good for you? Some will say certainly no, but then I guess I don't see a problem with putting the survey out. It's just, let's make sure that it's a broad spectrum that is answering the survey and not taking it that there's 3 people that answered it and they want guacamole, apple infused. Being facetious, but I think that's what the survey should be indicating, so.
I would hope by contacting the presidents of the of each club and their executive that to put it out there, that to try to get as much feedback. And I'm sure that the numbers they get back will be important. I mean, if you only get one survey back from minor soccer, then obviously they're not interested, right? So right. I'm sure they can track that with using the computer, which is the neat thing about it.
Yep. Anybody got a problem with? Is there a possibility, I think I know the answer to this, but is there a possibility, Larry, of asking Eunice to put it up as a link on our website? Please go to,
If the health unit would allow us to put it up as a link on our website, we'll check into that, ascertain whether that's possible or not.
Okay.
Sounds like they're looking at a focused group based on Doug's comments, though.
Yep. Okay. Any other new business? It's pretty much resolved there. Addendums, notice of motion or direct motion? Mr. Bell, you get an indication?
I do have a direct motion regarding some timelines pertaining to Rockwood Terrace. Would you like me to read the motion, or you need 2/3 to introduce first?
Wow. What is it about?
It is about, it is regarding proposal to engage an RFP to ascertain the economic impact of the potential closing of Rockwood Terrace.
Okay. I'll need a 2/3 majority to introduce. All those in favor of introducing the motion? That seems to be unanimous. Mr. Bell,
You want me to read this? Be resolved.
Your preamble and then the motion.
Well, everybody knows the seriousness of the situation, and I think everybody here is very in tune with what has been going on in the last little while. And I think we need to move it on to the next step. We've got some financial information, but I think we probably need some impact information. So I would like to make the motion to be resolved that the Council of Municipality of West Grey to immediately initiate an RFP to ascertain the economic impact on the potential closing of Rockwood Terrace to West Grey and area, and the funds be taken from the Economic Development Reserve, and those RFPs be brought back to Council.
Did you bring an upset?
No.
Okay.
Not yet. That's why we're bringing
Okay.
it back.
I believe that's the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Carol? I believe it's the individual to Mr. Bell's left. I can see from here it's Mr. Thompson.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, the second.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, didn't I? I'm sorry, I moved it in the second by Mr. Thompson, yes. I'm sorry.
Okay, good. Doug?
Don't shoot me.
No, that's fine.
No. Any other discussion? Don?
So in an RFP, they're just going to come out with a price they're going to charge to do that study?
To find, yeah.
That's
I
why-
take it that's what it is, Mr.
Yes,
Bell.
yes, that's why we did, probably Don, just to, as everybody knows what the dollars are on the table, to get all the RFPs back from council, in front of council, excuse me.
Is there do you have the mandate or the requirements of what they're going to be asking for?
No.
Who's drawing that up?
Well, I I know in conversations with the CAO that he has a couple of ideas. Got a couple of questions down here, Kevin.
Draft up the terms and reference, and I think in that it either come back to council and/or May 30th, committee of the whole, for our perusal before it's sent out. I think would be in the best interest on. Anything further? No? Carol?
Thank you. I believe that RFP has to have a timeline on it because we're really pressured here for time. As the warden said tonight, and I don't know why it's necessary, but he's saying that it will be, he wants it made in this year, so our time is very short, so we have to have a short timeline in that RFP. And I mean, it's pretty easy to Councillor Marshall what it is, the parameters of it is the economic impact on this area if Rockwood Terrace is closed. Loss of jobs, the impact to the businesses, the impact to everything else. It's fairly simple and straightforward, and I think pretty upsetting when we get it, but anyway. And I do think it's prudent to take the money from economic development because there's nothing better than to retain what you have rather than trying to get something else. You're talking 145 jobs there. Not full-time, all of them, but there's 145 people take money from there.
And it has been said in those surveys, which council has not seen, and I can tell you that 60 of those jobs come from within a 2-kilometer radius of Durham, and another 25% of them from the southern end of Grey County. So altogether, roughly works out to about 80, 85 within about 10 kilometers. Okay, so with Larry's help, if we could be given that latitude to put this together, and Larry's got some ideas about who to get contact and who to bid for this, but yes, we understand the crucial time element of this.
Okay. Don, further.
I guess I would agree with doing this. Just that I have no idea what county council is thinking. Durham needs this home. It does not have to be a county home, in my opinion. It can be a county-run home, it can be a municipally run home, or it can be a private home, but we need that home. So if county council if 9 of them are set in their ways right now that they're going to vote to close it, then we should be preparing something bigger to take it over. Rather than fighting, I don't know why not.
You're not. You're not allowed. It's county homes, it's county beds, and they are licensed to the county. The county can't sell them. The county can't give them to somebody else. If the county isn't going to use those beds, they go back to the ministry for redistribution in the area. Or in the province. And when you take a look at the numbers, West Grey County per 1,000 population is overpopulated or has more beds than the average in Ontario, and certainly more than in southern Ontario. When you take in private and county beds, all the beds were above the average home per 1,000 population. Carol?
Are we not also above the average per capita seniors as well for
Absolutely.
our population? So,
Yep.
I mean, we're not overbedded, not for the percentage of population that we have.
When you work it out, on the average or just on the per head count, but I believe that even going down further on the population over 65, we have a higher number of beds.
Always have a higher number of beds.
Higher number of beds per 1,000 people over 65 than the average.
And we're keeping those beds full?
It gets closer
Right.
to what. But
That's the way it was, Mr. Mayor, when we did the surveys 35 years ago.
Mhm.
We had a higher percentage than most other areas. still have, those beds have never been empty, so they're still needed.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
There's no
us-
question, but just the
Yeah.
raw number, we cannot,
That's right.
the county can't give those beds to somebody else. The county's got to run them, or they go back to the ministry.
Could
What-
be used as a private.
What if we subsidize them? What if it's just a financial affair to some county councilors, then if we kick in X amount of dollars to keep it here?
I guess that's part of this whole aspect, but, you know, that would need a fair bit of discussion as to what that number would be.
Have any idea what this RFP is gonna be? What this number's gonna come back to do this study?
Don, I'd like to think in all wisdom that I do, but I don't because that's not exactly my expertise. And I guess that's why we need an RFP to tell us what the numbers are going to be.
I would say that in seeing a couple of these done before on this aspect, 10,000. It may be more, it may be less, and I'm thankful that in this that we haven't put any upset limit. It may be 12, it may be 8. Maybe 35, and then we'll have to. But this way, it's left to council at the discretion when we find out what the numbers are. But I'm thinking, 10,000 and less would be in that consulting area for a project of this nature. Larry, am I in your experience?
In my opinion, you're in the ballpark, Your Worship. You can get the Taj Mahal version for $40,000 or $50,000, but is it really going to tell you anything different than the nuts and bolts, the Chevy version at $10,000? I think we really need to know the numbers, and that's what we need to drive towards. So be very precise in what we ask in the RFP, and then council can ascertain what level they wish to go with. I know there's some large firms that could potentially be interested in this, but I do believe there's also some smaller firms in the area in Southern Ontario that we may be able to tap into as well. So I believe 10,000 is a fair number. It'll be proven by the time it comes back with the estimates over.
Okay. Any other questions? You want to give me that and I'll introduce it and we can. So we have the motion moved by John A. Bell, seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey to immediately initiate an RFP to ascertain the economic impact on the potential closing of Rockwood Terrace to West Grey and area, and the funds be taken from the Economic Development Reserve, and that those RFPs be brought back to Council. Any comments on the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. I would also say that we try and have that RFP, Mr. Bell, back to Committee of Whole to be let at that point in time by the 1st of June with a 2-week return date from interested companies to keep in that timeline.
2 weeks.
2 weeks to return their RFPs, not to do the project.
No, but it's so that's pretty short.
Well, just a thought.
That we can, at the next council, like following them coming in, we can make the decision right away.
Well, and that's why I was thinking if it came to Committee of the Whole on May 30th, go back out so that it comes to that, what is it, June? No, it'd be 21st, wouldn't it? 20th. 20th? Yeah.
June 20th is.
Well, yeah, June 20th is the council, and maybe we'll find out that it can be done in 2 months. I don't, would be an indication in that RFP that we would want the results back within 2 months, so we have the information in front of county council. Very correct. Carol? Okay. That's it for notice of motions. What else have we got next, Mark? Should be closed session. I don't believe we have any, so question period. This time I'd ask if there's any questions from anything that's on the agenda this evening. Marlene?
It's sort of, well, actually, I just wanted to thank council, Councillor Hutchinson, Larry, for the signing the dark sky, the dark sky proclamation, so it is past my bedtime. I was going to leave, I'm tired. But thank you for signing it for all the work, and the LED lights, I guess, the committee was kind of formed too late to be involved in the development through that process, so I'm just going to cross my fingers at this point that the LED lights do make a difference in bringing down the light pollution that's in this area.
Yep.
And
Disbursement.
certainly to the beach.
Okay, thank you. No question. Anyone else? Don? Good? All right. No municipal act notices. Adjournment. Mr. Hutchison has number 20. I'll accept adjournment. Thank you very much. We stand adjourned. Thank you to everybody out there.
Thank you.